KIDO.com. We'll tell you a little bit more about them in a minute. Phone numbers, 580-5436. 580-KIDO. You know, big weekend coming up here. We've got the Warbird Roundup in Nampa. And I'm thinking to myself, boy, talking about ending summer with a bang right before Labor Day. What is the Warbird Roundup? It's, how should I put this? It's vintage World War II aircraft. It is a gathering at the Warhawk Museum. It is everything that makes America great. And if you haven't been to the Warhawk Museum and seen the Warbirds, and you're going to be around in Nampa, or last year, I was just hanging out at Treasure Valley Subaru. Because as they're always doing construction here, we should just call our place Construction Land. So they were doing some construction by 10 Mile Meridian, but it was so backed up to Treasure Valley Subaru, the Garrity exit. I'm just sitting there watching the traffic and just seeing the planes go by. I can't imagine what it's like to watch them take off and land at the Warhawk Museum. But that is this weekend. We have a complete, unfiltered, uncensored preview for you at our website, KIDOtalkradio.com. And unfortunately, some bad news. Kevin, all this program is ever bad news. Well, that's why we have our friends at the Boise Rescue Mission, the West Valley Humane Society, and other great charitable groups that do wonderful work that make sure that we keep everything balanced, if you will. But the bad news is the gas prices continue to go up. But again, we'll have, I think, the dueling gas price folks between Al and Tea Party Bob and others. But that's what makes this program great, is the diversity of opinions. And, of course, the ability to go back and forth, 1, 2, 3, 4, if you will, on the issues. That's really what America was built on when we're taking a look at, you know, one person feels this way, another person feels that way. There are no laws against free speech, at least in America, and hopefully on this program. And again, some of the hotter stories have been, you know, who's going to buy the Old State Saloon, and most notably, whether or not you can go to a coffee shop and espouse political views that the owner disagrees with. I know. We're still at war. If you thought that you might wake up today and go, hey, we're not at war anymore. No, we're still at war, and the war is going on, and everybody's having a good time. And we gave them the warning of economic sanctions. We didn't say that we're going to implement them, but we said, just you wait this time. We really mean business, and we're giving people the opportunity. If you were listening during Clay and Buck, as they were talking about the WNBA, as we predicted, also the Secretary of Treasury, Scott Bessent, was going on and on and on about saying to the Iranians, to everybody else, if you do business with Iran, you're in bad news. But we begin with Jesse Waters. And as we predicted, Jesse Waters went toe-to-toe with Al Sayed of Michigan, the candidate running for Michigan. And as I said before, this is a great opportunity for Mr. Sayed or Saeed to smack the conservatives, to appeal to an audience greater than his base, and to fire up the Democratic Socialists of America, which he is, but he isn't, but he is, but he isn't. I think he is, but he isn't. I don't know if he's declared, but they endorse him, so perhaps he is. Anyway, regardless of that, and this is a chance for Jesse Waters to prove that he's just not a yuck guy, to prove that he's just not some kid that got lucky and all he ever did was work for Fox, and Bill O'Reilly gave him a shot, and, you know, he's one of the great success stories in America. Let's take a listen to Jesse Waters asking Al Abdida Saeed if he's glad the Ayatollah is dead.
You brought up the war. Are you glad the Ayatollah is dead?
Yeah, I mean, look, he was a terrible person, but that's beyond the point. The bigger question is, should we have gone to war in the first place? So I just want to be clear with you, right? I mean, I'm never going to defend the Iranian regime, but I am going to defend the idea that we probably shouldn't be fighting wars we don't know how to get out of. Oopsie, you go to war and you tell us that it's going to be a special military operation. That was in February. We're now in September almost, and we're still fighting the special military operation? I mean, it's not working for us, Jesse.
We're not really
this
fighting
is exactly
it.
what happens when you've got a dunce in the White House who doesn't know what he's doing.
So you'd go back in time, you'd give them back their nuke program, you'd give them back their Air Force, their Navy.
No, I'd go
because the nuke program's buried under a mountain of rubble.
And we actually had nuclear containment. No, Jesse, you like to, I mean, look, I understand selective memory about history, but we had a JCPOA that was well negotiated, that actually had nuclear non-proliferation far more securely than what we have right now after having gone to war for the better part of 6 months.
Yeah, I like the fact that the nuke program's buried under a mountain of rubble. They can't even get access to it, but that's me.
So, again, Jesse Waters, again, Sayed is not going to give you a lot to work with. And you listen to this guy, boy, he sounds reasonable. He sounds rational. He sounds like a good Syed. He sounds like he's really good. He's a nice guy. He's on with Jesse Waters. And, again, Jesse Waters, talented kid, but debate isn't his thing. Now, if Syed really wanted to do something at 580 KIDO, it would have taken on our guy, Mr. Hannity. And maybe he would, but I love his explanation for the war, the facial expressions, very, very digital, smidgital, if you will. Say, I would have come up with a plan. Well, then the follow-up would have been, then Syed, Senator-elect Syed, Mr. Syed, Dr. Syed, why were you concerned about your supporters having their feelings hurt when we killed Soleimani or the great leader? Do these people love America, but they follow Iran? How can you cultivate these type of people that obviously don't love America? Do you love America?
To your point, Jesse, let me just answer the question.
To answer it, how many do we have?
Fewer when we had INS. To your answer, we had
exactly.
far fewer when we had INS.
Exactly.
So
we now
have, INS worked a lot better.
Abdul, listen, we had twice as many illegals now when we had INS.
So to your argument,
you have to have the manpower to do it.
If you want to do that correlation, we have ICE now, and we have far, far more undocumented people. So ICE is clearly not working. It's just shooting like American citizens in the face and the back of the head. So if you're okay with
illegals are shooting people in the face too.
To disagree.
Yeah, this is a tough one, and there are a couple of ways you can play this. And again, whether you're Al, I can't wait to hear what Al has to say. I would have gotten him. Okay, Al, I'm sure you would have. There's a couple ways you can play this. You can let him speak and then use that record against him, which is what Fox did, which is that this is a big get for Fox. Or you could go back and forth and really lay the smackdown. Again, it's a stylistic thing. But the idea of saying, well, okay, yes, we are so sorry that there have been tragic people that have been shot. Let's go over that circumstances. These people didn't comply. They escalated the situation. Still doesn't excuse what happened. And then we have the illegals in cases where you've had people murdered. They've been deported. They've come back. That's a little different. But to, again, it's very easy to Monday morning quarterback this thing. But as I said before, it's funny, and it just hit me. When you're competing against somebody and you beat them and you continuously beat them, more often than not, they just don't accept that. They try harder to beat you back. And that they're just not fine with it because maybe their livelihood's on the line. Maybe their pride's on the line. Maybe something else is on the line. They're just not going to sit there and take it. And I thought to myself, wow, I never thought of it that way. But, again, when it's somebody's career, livelihood, the Game of Thrones, if you will, and I guess you could throw in a dash of House of Cards, but truly, there's nothing in the House of Cards that compares to the Red Wedding when we're talking about politics at any level. But at this level, the highest level, you go on not the number one show, the top 3 show on cable television, Jesse Waters. He and Sean go for number 2 after the 5. And Waters, a lot more friendlier than Sean. And Waters, again, Jesse does a good job, but there's so much, they're not going to give you a lot to work with. And you can get bogged down, or you can get this guy on the record, which is, I believe, what Jesse Waters did. This is not an easy thing to do when you have a guy like Abdul al-Sayed talking about, the military, and he has an answer for everything. Everybody has an answer for everything until they walk the line, until they enter the arena. And we're not talking about the arena of politics. We're talking about actually the arena of litigation. Look, the bottom line here is a freshman senator from anywhere is not going to get anything done. People can rip Senator Risch. People can rip Senator Crapo. And they can talk about how they're, too old or what have you, as Mr. Todd Achilles has done. But Senator Risch, because he's been in the Senate so long, along with Senator Crapo, it's a seniority game. We have this with Mike Simpson, who's been there forever, number 3 in the House, maybe number 1 in the House. Maybe not as far as time, but as far as moving himself into committees. Congressman Fulcher has continued to build himself up in committees. Congress rewards the game of longevity. And it's unfortunate when you have, and I get the idea of term limits. This is the argument against term limits. You have people that are not guided by staff, but have been old enough, to have been in the office before their staff has been born. And when you have that institutional knowledge, again, not endorsing, just giving you the facts here, like a Mitch McConnell, you're going to get things done. And a president's come and go. Senators are there for quite a long time, and members of the House. So Michigan is about ready to lose a committee chairmanship. They're going to lose a lot of political influence. And you're going to bring in this guy who doesn't want to work with anybody. And it's, he's going to be growing a very small minority set contingent of what? Of radicals. Whereas you have Mike Rogers, former congressman, came very close to beating Slotkin, which was amazing. I'm amazed that Slotkin won, considering that Trump won Michigan. Regardless of that, here you have Said coming in with this wave of thing. Here's the argument against him. If he gets elected, he has a constituency of no one. AOC, she's in the House. Bernie, they hate him. They hate Bernie. It's like that situation at work where everybody's supposed to get an opportunity. Well, you don't get the opportunity. Well, because they don't like you. You would have gotten this deal, but they don't like you. All things come down to relationships. All things come down to relationships. Anyway, let's get back to it. We're talking about the military budget. And here we have Mr. Syed who knows everything because he's Mr. Know-it-all, right?
No, because I don't want you guys to blow the country up. Do you know how much the federal budget is now?
No, neither do I. Here's exactly
What's the federal budget?
You guys want to, right? Pete Hegseth, who used to work
answer
for
the question.
your
Do you know
channel,
what the federal budget is?
To raise. No. I just want to talk about this. Look, you want to talk about budgets? I'm happy to do that. The guy who used to work on your channel, I think he was like the 6th host on the 5. He wanted to raise our military budget to $1.5 trillion, and you don't seem to be upset about that. What, so we could fight a war we don't know how to get out of, to raise our gas prices $5 a gallon?
Yeah, again, got to give it to this guy. Forget he believes what he believes. Forget his alleged anti-Israel vibe. He sounds pretty normal to me. Sounds like a populist. Sounds like a Tea Party guy. Sounds like a fiscal conservative, except he wants Medicare and Medicaid for all. Look, I want Medicare and Medicaid for all. I just want to figure out how to pay for it. And, the difference here between Sean and Jesse, Sean wouldn't have let him off the hook. So you're running for Senate, sir, and you don't know how much the budget is. So what do you know? Oh, okay. And then you continue the pattern interrupt, which is what Saeed did to Jesse Waters. Look, I would have hit him with, our military is the one, keeps us safe. Have you talked to people in the military? Do you have family in the military? Do you love the military? But again, Jesse Waters, a very talented dude, and it's a different style. This is important to get Mr. Syed onto the record, but he continues to win the conversation, in my opinion.
That doesn't make sense to me, Jesse. We want to talk about the things that we actually should spend on. To me,
I
that's
have a feeling, Abdul, you don't even know how much money the government spends every year. Do you know?
Look, the question, Jesse, to me
all right,
is,
so you don't know. Let me tell you what it is. It's $7 trillion a year. And your plan
Jesse,
to take over the healthcare system is $4 trillion.
And here's the problem with it. So to exactly your point, do you know what
I'm not very good at math. I don't think you're very good at math either, but go ahead.
Clearly you don't. And you don't seem to care. But I don't think most Americans want to spend that much money on...
Yeah. And again... At 580-5436, 580-KIDO, Jesse plays I'm Just a Dumb Kid, and Syed takes him on that. Look, these are serious issues. These are crazy issues when we're talking about the amount of money we're spending on the interest compared to everything else. And, we used to have Dave Ramsey on. Dave Ramsey and I, very good friends, and every day it was the same show. And it was a great show, still is a great show. You've got to work on the principle of the dead. And we have too many people in Congress. And, nobody wants to be Charlie Brown and the other person be Lucy with the football. That's really what the Republicans have been for years until they fought back with Donald Trump, is we would get ready to kick and the Democrats would go, hey, everybody, let's do the budget. And then they pull the football away from us and we would look like the idiots. I was sitting there watching one of these old shows over the weekend. And I know there are a lot of people like my great son-in-law, Ryan. Ryan comes over yesterday because Mrs. Miller has some things she wants to do around the house. She's given up asking me to do it, and if I did it, it would be not done very well. And I'm talking to Ryan, and Ryan's a good kid, great father, great husband, great dad, great worker. And, we're talking about anything but politics. And when I see Ryan working hard, he should have the ability to live in a country that we all live in, that we all have been blessed to live in. And we should live in a country where it's not about clicks, dips, daps, and rips, but it's about two people, Republican and Democrat, coming together and figuring things out. Let's go back to 1992 because, as I was saying, my analogy was while everybody's working, I'm sitting there watching the shows. And I was watching a show over the weekend where they were talking about the 1992 George H.W. Bush, read my lips, don't raise the taxes. And they had people on, maybe one older person, maybe not a boomer. We don't want boomers on anymore, although I find myself drawn to the boomers because they have this thing called a frame of reference. And I'm watching it, and they're going over the Bush tax cuts, how Bush broke his word, and how does it really matter about campaign promises and everything else. And then I thought to myself, well, you left out the relevant fact. The reason why President Bush broke his word is he had a deal with the Democrats. The Democrats came to him and they said, look, Mr. President, the country is in trouble. We are in trouble. What we need to do is we need to put aside our partisan differences, our major partisan differences, and we need to come together. And we promise we won't hit you on breaking your campaign pledge. And guess what happened? As soon as he did it for the good of the country, what the Democrats did was they started passing legislation that they knew he would have to veto. So people, again, this is before the internet, cable television was prospering a little. It was just CNN, not Fox News, not anything else. And what they would do is they made him look bad and inept. And guess what they did? They stabbed Bush in the back. They stabbed Poppy Bush in the back. And they said, look, he raised your taxes. He broke your promises. It didn't help that the president wasn't into being the president. He wasn't into being reelected. He didn't want it bad enough. And that was the deal. But he did it for the good of the country. And that's what should be done here. And a lot of this stuff is performative. Syed is performative. Jesse Waters is performative. But to have a discussion like a Bill O'Reilly, or, you go to Crazy Tucker, who's 1 minute he's for Trump, the next minute he isn't. Again, another great debater. Or Sean. So we'll see how this happens. Syed got out of it unscathed. I would love to get your review of this. This is the biggest story going on in the political world. We'll talk more about it again. Coming up, they talk reparations and windmills. What about you? Join me, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. That's the numbers. You're listening to Kevin Miller on 580-KIDO, where we're going one-on-one between Jesse Waters and Abdul Al-Sayed. And Waters doing his best to keep up with this guy and exposing him, which sometimes you just have to sit there and let the loon speak. So let's hear what this guy has to say about reparations, everybody.
Reparations. Do you support that?
I think we need to have an honest conversation about the incredible debt that was put upon black folks as a function of slavery that we have yet to pay. And I just think that's fair. Like if people are enslaved and forced into servitude, and then we don't actually have a conversation about all that was owed, that our own country agreed was owed, I just think that it's past time to have that conversation. That shouldn't be a crazy thing. I understand that, like, for folks who really want to inflame culture war, I just think it's important for us to think about how do we make sure that communities like the city of Detroit that have been segregated so that you have a disproportionate number of people as a function of redlining who are forced into certain communities, how do we make sure that their schools are made whole? I'll just tell you this, in the city of Detroit right now, they just had $700 million invested in their schools. They're still $1.7 billion behind. And a lot of folks want to say, oh, well, that's profligacy, et cetera, et cetera. No, a lot of that has to do with public policy.
Okay.
And if public policy created a level in which black folks disproportionately suffer everything from maternal mortality and infant mortality to lack of access to jobs,
Yeah.
I think it's important for our country to have
so you want to have a conversation
about how we
about
make
it.
people whole.
You want to have a conversation about it because we have you on the record as backing it, but now you just want to have a conversation. I got it.
Yeah, it's tough to, again, you're dealing with a guy that's fairly gifted and really not fair to Jesse Waters. Perhaps that's why they picked him. It would have been better to have Sean on, or I'm saying Laura Ingraham. Now, Laura Ingraham would have been amazing as well. Could you imagine deadpan Laura Ingraham hitting this guy again and again and again? The point about reparations is, what's the conversation? How about the same conversation about Social Security? The same conversation about Medicare, Medicaid, the same conversation we have all the time, and how are you going to do this? It's kind of like the Trump accounts. Hey, that's great that people are getting the Trump accounts. Why can't I get a Trump account? So people that were born now, that are little kids now, have an advantage over people that were born 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 50 years ago, 70 years ago. I mean, I know it's a ridiculous statement, but how are you going to prove any type of reparations? We can talk about the indignity suffered by people in this country. We can also talk about the opportunity given to people, whether it's through affirmative action, whether it's through DEI, whether it's through anything, whether it's through the civil rights movement, Jim Crow, eliminating Jim Crow, the Civil War. I mean, we can go. I mean, Syed, are you going to go to Gettysburg? You're going to go honor the people that made America great? How about traveling to Birmingham? The problem is he doesn't have a lot of support among the black community. And it's interesting that and again, like I said, maybe I'm going deep on politics today, but I marvel at this sometimes. And my goal with you is obviously to bring in as many people as possible to conservatism, like our great friend Rush Limbaugh did. I'm about 100th the talent of that guy, maybe 1,000th the talent of that guy, because he was such a friendly soul and just a beautiful man. And if we can give you 100th of what he delivered every day, it's a success. And so, like Rush, and maybe not like Rush, because Rush would smoke cigars and have great dinners and have people over to his place in West Palm. And it's funny, everybody is all about West Palm, but it was Rush that put West Palm on the map, and Donald Trump to a degree, but it was Rush. I mean, Sean Hannity lives there, Dan Bongino lives there, anybody who is anybody now lives there. Unless you're Chuck Todd, and I think you live in Jacksonville, but regardless of that, to bring people in. And so I'm watching some of the shows, and they have this African-American black lady on, very articulate, very provocative, and kind of like not a young Donna Brazile, because Donna has that dash of friendliness, and she worked for Kamala and everybody else, and she's talking about, I mean, every segment she's on, she's talking about they need the black vote, these socialists, they don't do anything for the black vote, the constituency of the Democratic Party, and that's his problem in Michigan. You have a lot of people that aren't down with his way of thinking, and they say whether it's Ossoff. It's hard to argue against Ossoff because to win Georgia, you're going to have to win a lot of the black vote, especially out of Atlanta. I mean, there's Georgia and then there's Atlanta. But again, you have a majority-minority city and perhaps a significant portion of the population that is black or African-American. And you're going, Kevin, what does it have to do with Idaho? Well, he who controls the Senate controls everything else. So my point being that Al-Sayed has to do some major outreach. Because, like him or not, what you get with his opponent, Mike Rogers, is a guy that has the working class constituency. I digress. You're going, Kevin, let's get to the talent here. All right, this is Al-Sayed talking about windmills on Lake Michigan. We like windmills in Idaho, don't we?
You want to get rid of the internal combustion engine.
No, I don't. Who told you that?
That's what the Green New Deal
came to America
says.
to design internal combustion engines. No, that's
The
not
Green
what
New Deal says
says.
phase out
It says
fossil
that we
fuels.
could build renewable energy opportunities. Look, I'm not going to defend the Green New Deal. What I'm telling you, though, is that we could make a whole
You're
lot
on the
more
record
amazing
as
jobs if we
backing
actually
the Green
invested in
New Deal,
renewable energy.
Abdul.
Look, I'm just telling you this. Are you opposed to the idea that we could reduce energy costs and create jobs in Michigan? Are you opposed to that?
Absolutely, but I don't want windmills in Lake Michigan.
So you're absolutely opposed to that?
You know, I tell you, and I know Alan Ontario's warming up in the bullpen, in the queue, if you will. I'm sitting here taking a listen to this, and Patriot Ray can understand this. And there are a lot of people, not a lot of people, but a significant portion of the people that are from Ohio. And you go to yourself, well, Kevin Miller, you're from Ohio. Why don't you always talk about being from Ohio? I don't, because you have to go where you're wanted. Ohio didn't want me. Pennsylvania didn't want me. The only place that wanted me was Idaho. And I'm always loyal to the people that are loyal to me, to this beautiful state. But there's something that I always call the Ohio. It's very unique to people in that region. And Pennsylvania to a degree, but basically it's Ohio, Michigan. And you hear the sarcasm that he's playing with Jesse Waters. Oh, yeah, you're right. You're right, Jesse. You know, and because in a past life, I loved going on these shows and having a conversation. How I would have answered it is, whether I was outside or whatever. Jesse, have you been to Lake Michigan? You been to Lake Michigan, Jesse? Have you seen the windmills? Have you been there? Oh, you haven't? Then please be quiet. There was a time on CNN where, like a lot of people, and it was funny, and I still have the tapes, and one day I should just put the tapes on YouTube. We're going back and forth, and they have people, they go, it was a show called Talk Back Live, and if you remember Wendy Garisco, who was on this program, she booked me as just this unknown guy, and they go, we're dealing with people from all the major markets of influence, New York, Los Angeles, Detroit, and Birmingham. Guess who was from Birmingham? So I'm debating a guy who's on this LA TV station or radio station. They're talking about the Mississippi flag. And he's going on and on about the rebel flag. And it's a different time then. I said, hey, bro, you ever been to Mississippi? Well, I go, you ever been to Mississippi? That's all you have to do, man. That's all you have to do is lay the smacketh down. But again, Al Sayed runs wild, and we're talking about windmills on Lake Michigan. Again, a move by Jesse Waters. He's trying to lure this guy out. But Al Sayed could have said, you ever been to Lake Michigan? Then shut up, Jesse.
Yeah, I don't want to put windmills in Lake Michigan, do you?
Windmills.
I don't think the people in Michigan want that, Abdul. If you're running on that, that's not going to go over too well.
We have a pipeline. No.
Yeah, much more on that. We'd love to get your thoughts at 580-KIDO. I know it's early. Early. And oh, by the way, looking at this report from Channel 7, Idaho Power explaining why we have higher costs. Oh, really? Can't wait to hear that one. And I can't wait to hear from you. Don't forget, this afternoon, it is Sean Hannity and Lars Larson. They take you home, man. You don't go anywhere but the right way with those two guys. Kevin Miller, 580-KIDO. Let's get you to work the right way. Bitcoin back to around $80,000 a Bitcoin. Remember back when it was just a steal at 47? Who can make sense of all these things? Who can really make sense of this? Just looking at some of the headlines. He has a lot of room to kiss my blank. The trade fight with Canada is getting personal. Trump threatens to rename Lake Ontario as a spat with Canada escalates. I guess he wants to name it Lake America. Yes. One of my personal headlines here. Let's see. U.S. squeezes Iran but avoids targeting its biggest lifeline, China. Fascinating discussion here. Let's go to Al in Ontario, who joins us now at 580-KIDO.
Good morning. Yeah, you're correct. The guy is very performative. But guess what, Kevin? Performative works with people who have no philosophical grounding, which is virtually everyone in the United States. There's very few people who understand the basics of how free markets need to work and really how people need to work. Okay? Kevin, even you. All right.
Al, I don't agree that there are free markets. There's markets backed by the government, and then there's everyone else that has to fend for themselves.
Well, I mean, conceptually, free markets, that's what we should have, the whole Adam Smith thing, right? Okay, we don't.
Let
We live in a
me
socialist,
and again,
crazy-
let's have a discussion here, and let me jump in for a minute. So I don't even think it's possible to have free markets anymore. As critical as I am of government backing businesses, and I don't agree that we should be owning stock in businesses, the way China, your beloved Chinese, have changed the game with molding capitalism and communism into this sick, indentured servitude, slavery-fueled economy that they have. I don't know if you could beat it with just a plain old, Elon Musk or Andrew Carnegie these days.
Right. I mean, look, Kevin, we could get into a really deep conversation on this, and I would destroy you. But unfortunately, we only.
I don't know why it has to be. I don't know why it has to be a competition. I'm asking your opinion on this.
It is.
I mean, Andrew Carnegie didn't have government contracts. Rockefeller didn't have government contracts, and yet today we have everybody dependent on the government. And maybe that's because the Chinese and the Russians have looked at our system, have used the best of it, and now they use it against us. So it's not possible. Look, as much as we want to tout all these businesses coming back to America, a lot of them did that with incentives, as you know. No incentives, they don't come back here.
Look, buddy, we have to have collision, okay, in ideas, and the friction that you get from the collision is what gives you the truth, okay. That's what Madge Waggy says, and I agree with her. And so it must be adversarial, Kevin. And so consequently, look at this whole socialist paradigm that we have built, and socialism is printing money out of thin air. Okay, the government now has the means of production. Okay, it's crooked. The whole thing is corrupt. That's the basis of the corruption. Everything's free, Kevin. Okay, the people have no philosophical grounding. The guy says, oh, give free stuff here. Oh, health care to everybody. This to everybody. Kevin, when you give people free stuff, you destroy them. Okay? Get it. Okay? When you give people free stuff, you destroy them. Now, where did you ever learn that in school? You won't. That's the problem. There's no logical thought processes or methodological correct processes that will give people the understanding they need to have here, using inductive reason and looking back at historical precedents. When you give people free stuff, you destroy them. You can't give them free stuff. Oh, reparations. What we've done now is we've told the black people for hundreds, oh, you're a victim. They're not victims. They're not victims of anything. They're victims of themselves because they listen to the demagogues. Okay, this guy is nothing but a demagogue. Okay, and he relates very well to people who have no philosophical grounding, right? That's the problem, that people are, unfortunately, I don't want to be mean, but they're kind of simple-minded, right? They can't really look at history and say, well, wait a minute, what happened when we give free stuff to people? What it does is it corrupts everything. Okay, you have to work. Okay, you have to have self-esteem, self-respect. Oh, government, give me my health care. Make me feel good. My hurts. No, that doesn't work. Okay, wake up and smell the coffee, people, but they won't. Oh, the gas prices, this. No, stop buying gas. Get a bicycle, get a Tesla, do something. Okay, you're a powerful human being. Oh, I'm not a morning person. Oh, so what? You choose not to be a morning person. You choose to be what you are. You choose it. Choose well, but they don't choose well. Okay, choosing well means you choose every single day to believe things and not believe other things. But, we've gotten to this place now where, the government basically is this big, judiciocracy that pushes DEI. And really, it's crooked. I mean, you got the judges here, just this article that I'm reading, and it's all this, the people are driven to this whole victim state. Everybody's a victim. And what do the judges do? The judges come out. Okay, the judiciocracy, they run everything. Okay, they run the the so-called juris-putrefaction system, okay? And they say, oh, no, you can't end DEI grants in California cities. Oh, you can't? No, the judges are perpetuating Marxism because the judiciocracy, the deep state, is a Marxist entity. But nobody's going to come out and say that. And when you see this Marxist entity that we have and what they do, and really, let's go back and look what they did. They're crooked as hell, really. I hate to say it, but they changed the entire, content of our political system. Look back what they did to Senator Ted Stevens, okay? I mean, total corruption, total prosecutorial misconduct, okay? And fortunately, there happened to be one judge, this Emmett Sullivan. He looked at what they were doing, but and they threw everything out because there was witness tampering. Everything was going on, misconduct there. And what happened? You threw out one senator and you put in another senator. Okay, this is the type of corruption we have. And then you say we want to give that corrupt deep state that does that, we want to give them flock cameras? We want to give the deep state flock cameras? You got to be kidding me. Okay, you can't trust these people. That's the problem. What we've done is we've concentrated power in the judiciocracy, exactly what our great founding father, Thomas Jefferson, said would happen. Okay, we have the tyranny of the judiciary, the judiciocracy, and it's destroying our country. And it's pushing this DEI and pushing lies and pushing demagoguery. And look, we got to be honest about it. And that's why I love Madge Wagee or Wagee, however you want to say her name. I love her article, and it was in Zero Hedge, okay? And that article really just it lays it out so good. Kevin, did you read that article?
No, I didn't now.
Well, you need to read that article, okay? Everybody needs to read that article. When the rule of law fails. When the rule of law fails, and what do we got? We got production or protection that becomes predation. We got a protection racket. Oh, that's what it is. It's a protection racket. Oh, give me free stuff. Protect me from myself. Yeah, it's a big protection racket, but guess what? You're the prey. You're the prey of this failed system where one entity becomes so powerful that it dictates everything. And absolute power corrupts absolutely. We know that. But we will not face up to it. When you look at, I'd love to debate Lars Larson on this with these cameras. Okay, I'd love to debate that. Look at, and you know what? I'd also like to ask a question of the great Chuck Ambrose and also Chris Troupis. Okay,
Al, thank you for the call. You left the real estate a long time ago. Kevin Miller on your home for Hannity, 580-KIDO.
KIDO Talk Radio.
580-KIDO. We've been looking over the conversation between Jesse Waters and Al Sayed, if you will. Sayed doing what Al Sayed is doing, using the Ohio-Michigan sarcasm vibe, if you will, to go back at Jesse Waters. Obviously, you got to look at these people and, not to, again, come to go to Game of Thrones on you. But this is a big opportunity for Syed, not just to be on TV, but to raise money and to raise his profile and say, look, I went on Fox News and smacked that Jesse Waters. And I was going to say good for him to a degree. Good for him. That's great. That's wonderful. That's exciting. But the bottom line here is Jesse Waters doing his very best to expose this guy. And one of the favorite topics, as predicted, dear friends, Clay and Buck, all about the WNBA yesterday.
Boys playing in girls' sports.
I'm not advocating anything. I'm just saying.
What about that?
So the question, so again, like Jesse, you have not asked me one time about the issues that people actually care about in Michigan. You don't want to talk about gas prices. You don't want to talk about groceries. You don't want to talk about health care. You don't want to talk about the stupid trade war that's about to destroy Michigan's economy.
We spent the whole interview talking about that stuff.
That's destroying, that is destroying our own military. You don't seem to want to talk about any of those things. You want to bring up all this culture war. That, you know, I'm not here to
We
fight a
talked
culture war.
about
I'm
the
here
war.
to
We
fight the
talked about
affordability
gas
crisis that people are
prices and the
facing.
Green New Deal, okay? If you want to do an interview,
I brought them up every time.
you can do the interview,
You're
okay?
asking me, like, you're doing
I'll
the
ask
greatest hits,
questions.
Jesse. Like, I mean, this is, like, you could play this game if you want, but, like, you can keep doing the greatest hits if you want. You told me we were going to come on for a conversation, and when we have conversations, I think that it's okay to also ask questions. I just want to understand what you're getting at here.
I'm getting at whether you think men should play in women's
U.S. Senator in
sports.
Michigan,
It's a big issue.
I'm interested in getting money out of politics, putting money in your pocket, and passing Medicare for all.
You're
You know what most people
filibustering,
don't care
Abdul.
about what sports kids play. And
You're
also,
filibustering.
I'm just
It's a
answering
big
questions
issue.
because, like, I want
You
to talk
guys
about the
kinda
issues
lost
that
on that
your
issue
viewers
last time.
deserve to hear about.
All right, so you want to answer that question.
See what we missed in Idaho by not having a political season, if you will. See what we missed, the craziness. Let's get into another look at traffic at 580 KIDO. We can never know, as much as we need to know about traffic. 580 KIDO traffic. Good morning, David.
Good morning, Kevin. From the Pacific Steel and Recycling Studios right near Maple Grove, you're going to have an accident working. That's got traffic really backing up on you. So just take a little extra time in that area. Otherwise, coming out of Candy County into Ada County, we're looking good there. Finishing cleanup of an accident at Deer Flat and Linder. Fence and Lumber, your Cedar Factory outlet, saving you up to 70% off the big box stores. Now in Cuna and online at fenceandlumber.com. I'm Dave Burnett. That's your traffic now on KIDO.
Thank you very much, Dave Burnett. I really appreciate it. What did we learn in that conversation? Filibuster this, filibuster that. Maybe, and look, YouTube is changing the world. Maybe that's a place where you just have a YouTube, and the YouTube goes crazy, if you will, and you go for 2 or 3 hours. What do the kids call that? The live stream, that they have the live stream, and the live stream goes on, and they do all sorts of craziness, back and forth, if you will. And then they could talk and talk and talk. And you'll have some people that will talk and talk and talk, ridiculously for hours and hours at a time. Maybe then you get to the answers. I don't know. But it used to be an hour of television was a long time, but that really has changed with the world that we live in today. Speaking of which, at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, we'll continue to take your calls about the issues that matter to you. And, the economic impact of this trade war, which I don't believe is going to happen. I believe that the president will bring the Canadians back into the fold, and everybody is all about, we hate the economics of this president, and it's going to be Armageddon, and the Canadians are mad, and the Canadians are going to stand up for us. Well, with all due respect to Canada, who's going to defend them? Their new friends, the Chinese. Are the Chinese going to defend Canada? Oh, Canada. Are the Chinese going to come in and take over hockey? I don't know. But it's ridiculous. And I think that the president truly has a point. That Canada has enjoyed a lot of things. Getting a free ride from the United States of America for many, many years now. I don't mind the Canadians. I've been to Canada. I trained when I was in the military in Canada. In Newfoundland, I've been off the coast there, kind of like out of a Clancy novel. The plane breaks down, so I'm doing guard duty. They had to be at the bottom of the barrel when I'm doing the guard duty, and everybody else is eating or sleeping on the plane. Yes, it was the bottom of the barrel for guard duty for me. But my point being that, we pay for our national defense. Why is everybody else riding our backs? Shouldn't they pay the freight? I know we pay the freight each and every day, and we so appreciate you. Kevin Mill in the morning, 580-KIDO. Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Lord, for blessing us with the opportunity to be here And sadly, we've got more wildfires erupting across the country. We'll take your calls about the issues that matter to you. If you missed last hour, it was a review and commentary on the Jesse Waters program last night. He took on Al Sayed of Michigan. And Mr. Sayed, I think, did a fairly decent job of pretty much outlining everything. And when you have two massive egos, and to be at that level, any level in local or national politics, you have to have a massive ego. And I'm not really saying that ego is a bad thing. I'm just saying that you have to have an ego. It's very, I can't say un-Idahoan, because that doesn't make sense, but it's very counter to the vibe that we have here, right? Take a look at some of our local headlines you'll find only here at 580 KIDO. Micron opening another 60,000 square foot training center near the Boise campus. And as we said, and we predicted this, not that we make the radio world go round, but we like to think we do have a brain on our head, that you have the new president of Boise State saying and bringing people in with him, because engineering, tech, and research, that's his background. Basically stating that he wants to make this a research university. And then you have CWI beginning new programs to get more technology workers. And hopefully, we'll have the technology workers, and they won't be replaced by the algorithms, right? Our top story that we are very concerned about, obviously, is the lightning from multiple storms starting multiple fires. I didn't see any lightning last night. Did you? I guess we could start saying we're on the lightning watch, everybody. No joke about this one. Multiple new lightning-caused wildfires have been reported throughout our area, with some fires already contained, others being evaluated and managed by officials. The Wild Horse fire near Kimana and something Gulch near Bliss are estimated to be around 2,000 to 2,700 acres, respectively, with no road closures at this time. And then we have, I think, one in Oahe County as well. And we have a water leak in Caldwell, not to be confused with the water leak that was fixed in Nampa. And more importantly, here we have a fundraising story. This has to be from the Idaho Capital Sun. Nope, Boise State Public Radio, your taxpayer dollars at work. The fundraising battle is intensifying over Prop 1 in Idaho, with those folks raising, well, as I said before, you have a variety of groups, whether it's private groups, public groups, political groups, working to stop Prop 1, meeting with people and educating people. Basically, it's like this. If you want abortion to return to Idaho, you vote for Prop 1. If you want to keep Idaho abortion-free, you vote to get rid of Prop 1. You vote no. So here we have it. One group, Too Extreme for Idaho, receiving 1.6 from 41 donors, while Idahoans United for Women and Families has raised 2.7 from 5,400 donors. Despite the wide gap in the number of donors, both groups have similar amounts of cash on hand for campaigns. And then you take a look at this. That's a lot of money when you're thinking about the fundraising. And as I said before, this is a big money issue, and some people are raising money and some people aren't. Again, Too Extreme for Idaho, 1.6 contributions totaling 1,000 or more people. Meanwhile, United Women for Idaho and Families, the group behind getting an initiative on the ballot, they're at about 2.7, almost, 2 to 1, if you will. We can't infer there's no popular support, that the people don't support it, but at the very least, they're the ones investing on that side of the moment, according to a Boise State professor. So, like I said, it's interesting, and look, dare we say this, but the people that are pro-life can raise 1.6. Can the Republican Party raise that type of money? Oh, we don't talk about that. Yeah, it's not really, nothing good can really talk about what's going on within the leadership of the Republican Party, but it shows you that people that can bring people together for a common cause, there is money in Idaho. Maybe not the money that you get in the oil states or the pot states, but there is money. There are very, very shrewd conservatives that for good causes do contribute. Most notably, we take a look at the benefactor to the big city coffee folks. What's the big city coffee situation? And I don't know. This is another thing where I wish we had more bandwidth for this, because this is truly a local story that wasn't owned by anyone. And owned by, I mean by, this should have been covered all the time. And I'm not going to say we did the best we could, because we didn't. But here you have big city coffee, and anybody who's anybody, you want to be associated with Boise State University. You do. You want to be associated with Boise State University. And Boise State is a very peculiar entity. Before Jeremiah Dickey got there, they picked the winners and the losers. And really to this day, they still do. And I get it. They're the biggest thing, well, almost the biggest thing. Micron is the biggest thing in this state, followed probably by our healthcare systems are the biggest thing in this state, followed by the ag business in this state, I would say, if I had to rank the power players in this state. And then maybe Boise State. Maybe Boise State's fourth or fifth in reality. Maybe if they get the research dollars with this new guy, so be it. So we have the State Board of Education that hires, and look, I apologize in advance if this seems sexist, but a cheerleader. And Dr. Trump came in, and she was from Berkeley or one of those liberal schools in California, but she's from Wyoming, everybody. And she drove a Tesla, and they put a little power station there so she could recharge her Tesla on campus. That became known as the Trump Tesla station. And now I don't know if it was officially, but she used it. You could see her, because at the time very few people drove Teslas, and she'd get the coffee at the Starbucks. Not that I stalked her. I was in Starbucks one time, and she was in front of me. So it was truly, and one of the beauties about living in Idaho is people aren't very critical, and criticism, provocation doesn't really work much. And that's something I think Mark at the Old State Saloon has learned. It's something Dylan has learned. It's something Tea Party Bob is very frustrated with. There's a certain way of people like to be approached. And Dr. Trump would wear her blue and orange toenails painted, and she would be a cheerleader. And then you'd have, the glowing, because that's really how it was done here. You just do these glowing public profiles, no criticism of public officials or anything else. And here you have, and Kevin, how does this get to this Big City Coffee? So Big City Coffee comes in. They are the official coffee provider at the the Student Union Resource Center, right? So they go in, and all of a sudden, it's during COVID, and the blue line, the blue flag, Blue Lives Matter flag. And somebody from Boise State University, students, they don't like the police. Now, I'd speculate they're probably not from Idaho. They're imports from California. And so they go all woke. They organize a boycott. They run this lady out of business. Boise State does not support this business, does not rally because the students are in charge. Students are paying the tuition. They are running the asylum. And this lady, again, single lady, engaged to a police officer who almost died in the line of duty, by the way, a local product, Kevin Holtree. And then so she gets run and loses everything, almost loses her business in downtown Boise. She eventually did. So she files a lawsuit. Well, when you take on a major corporation, and no matter how much money you have, they're going to try to bleed you out. And there was a conservative benefactor who backed the lawsuit. And Dr. Trump, in her infinite wisdom, and maybe it was the stupid people on the State Board of Education, and I'm sorry if it comes across as mean, but you should have settled the lawsuit. Nobody wins when you drive out a local business owner from the state's biggest university. Nobody wins. But Boise State went to the mattresses over a small business person. She eventually lost her business, but she won the lawsuit. And then they vowed to appeal and everything else. And then there were issues with Dr. Trump and the athletic program that are well documented, not well reported. And she decided, I need to get the heck out of here. Went to Vermont. She wasn't the right leader for the job. And unfortunately, you have people in Idaho, state people in the State House, that were charmed by her. And there was no sense of accountability. And maybe that's one of the reason why one of my triggers is I've seen very good people in any business do nothing wrong and be victims of the algorithm, be victims of corporate ineptitude, and they lose their livelihood. Some lose their identity. And that's a dangerous game to play. And yet here you have the big city coffee run out, and you had Dr. Trump that had no plan except to be a cheerleader. That's why she had to go. And frankly, I was very disappointed by the lack of oversight by the State Board of Education on her. Nobody wants to ruffle feathers. So they hire this guy. By the way, the guy that was the interim, who's doing a really good job, he wasn't going to get it, so he went and took the job in Montana. And then you bring in this guy from Arizona. He seems like he knows what he's doing, but he has the plan. And I can remember years ago hanging out with Tommy Alquist and Bob Custra. And Dr. Custra and I don't think alike and all that, but this was a conversation about the future of Boise State and everything else. And Dr. Custra, we talked about the need for, and this is well before Micron. This was when Micron was on the ropes again, about to be purchased by the Chinese. That's true. Google it. So you have people saying that we have this lack of research training. And now you bring in the new professor, the new doctor, and he's going to bring in his team. And now you have the resources with Micron, with their vast resources, to really turn Boise State into, and we've written about this several times. Occasionally we do something right on that website at KIDOtalkradio.com where we predict the future. And we said that this is their future outside of football. And with the public-private partnership with Micron, it's going to roll. And again, this story just proves that, they're opening a 60,000 square foot training center near the Boise campus. You're going to have those two linked along with CWI. And if the University of Idaho is smart, Idaho State is smart, they will jump on the train as well. That's how our area is going to change. And that's the difference that we provide here at 580 KIDO. Is, again, I watch the shows. I have the frame of reference. This is what I do. So you don't have to. And we're going to see, resources being used, some good, some bad. I find it fascinating. I don't know if you find it fascinating that we have this whole anti-data center vibe going on across the country, but not in Idaho. We have Tea Party Bob yelling about it. We were yelling about nuclear power yesterday, but really not in Idaho. And we'll see whether or not that gets here. I know in, Weezer, they're trying to kick out the data centers. And to me, AI is only as good as the data centers that fund it. And with that comes the water. And now they have a new thing where they're going to use even more energy. They're going to use even more energy, so they don't have to use water, but where's the energy going to come from? Hence why our prices are going up. Phone number's here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. I do want to congratulate, and I saw this before Boise State released this, the folks at Swire Coca-Cola. They and the Broncos are working together. So wherever you get your fine Coca-Cola products, you're going to see, that's right, wait for it, the official Boise State Coca-Cola cans. And I know a lot of you people are going to go, well, dude, I want to get those Coca-Cola cans and, I want to save them. Well, if you save them, then I don't know how long the Coke lasts, but I'm sure there's going to be plenty of people that will be getting their Swire Coca-Cola. So great to see that local business supporting the team as well. Phone numbers here. We've given them to you. You can always reach me, Kevin at KIDOtalkradio.com. If you're a member of the Yap Yap Club, you will get personally delivered each and every day our podcast. And somebody the other day said, you said something controversial. Why wasn't it on the podcast? Because we're incompetent. Sometimes that happens. By the way, this portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Hearing Connection. Check them out today. Hearing Connection, 208-488-3255. 488-3255. We understand you have a lot of choices when it comes to your hearing. We want you to hear. We want you to speak. We want you to be a part of the program. Take care of your hearing. Call our friends at Hearing Connection, 488-3255. You're listening to Kevin Miller on 580 KIDO.
Kevin, how you doing, man? Good to talk to you. It's been a long time, I think, since yesterday. That's good. So I didn't call about this. I will talk about what I called about, which is the nuclear stuff. But
sure.
Since you mentioned Dr. Trump moving out of town, what would be kind of cool to see is if President Trump had a new beast made out of a Tesla, and then he visited Idaho, which would be great since he hasn't, and he said, hey, look, You made a spot just for me. We're going to park it right here. That'd be awesome. The Trump Tesla factory or charging station. That'd be great.
It would be great when you think about it. Yeah.
And he'd totally do it too. We actually should use that to lure him here. I think he'd be like, "That's a fantastic idea. That'd be big. Let's do it." Now, as far as the nuclear stuff coming to town, the deal they're making with the federal government to store the nuclear waste, they've got a plan that they're working on. This isn't just something that they thought up and, hey, let's do this and get a few extra bucks. Since we've got like the one of the world's leading nuclear study facilities here, and we've all heard that they're planning on bringing these mini reactors to town. When you get the spent nuclear waste, it's not all spent. There's still a great deal of energy that can be used from this material. They have got the ability to separate it out and use it to power these mini reactors. And then what you're actually storing is a lot smaller than the overall load. So they're basically going to be recycling a lot of this, converting it into energy to power these mini reactors to get us clean, efficient energy. Unlike California, which shut down the Dolly Parton Memorial. That's what the Marine Corps calls it over there. Your Camp Pendleton, which is the two big rounded nuclear reactors called San Onofre, which is providing clean power for them for a million years, cooled by the ocean water coming in. There were no blasts there, no meltdowns or anything like that. Then they have these rolling blackouts, and they tell you to shut off your air conditioning when it's hot and to not turn on your heat when it's cold because they failed to plan for the people that they're bringing into the state. Well, now they're solving that problem by moving to Idaho, I guess. So there you go.
I'm amazed by that when you think about it. What do you make of Tea Party Bob, though, yesterday? He thinks that we're going to have another 3 Mile Island here.
Well, here's the deal. You have to do things efficiently. You have to learn from your mistakes. And, the bottom line is if you fail to learn, you're going to have the lesson again. I think we've learned. We've seen all these things. We know what to do. We're not going to have a Chernobyl here. This is the technology has advanced to such a degree that we know how to use this stuff safely, and you're not going to have it blow up. I've got friends of mine that have done nuclear submarines. And they call them nukes. They're under the ocean for a long time. Totally nuclear run submarines. The ships are nuclear run. And stupidly, one time I asked, well, hey, if you have a collision with like these nuclear ships, isn't there going to be an explosion? The guy looked at me like I was an idiot. Says, no, man. Like, we don't all understand nuclear fusion. That's not the way it is. You don't have a nuclear blast go off because two ships, crash, whatever it was. It's not like that. It's safe. We can control it, and it's been used for years and years and years very safely. Even France uses nuclear technology over there. They've been doing it for years. It just is a very efficient way of generating massive amounts of power with very little expended energy. Way better than these windmills.
Well, no, I'm with you on that. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
I guess we will.
No, I'm just wondering how this plays out. I think that we're going to get it because we just have the best facilities. But, to Tea Party Bob's point, I don't really see a lot of people that are against it.
I mean, there's always going to be some people that are against it, and that's okay. This is a free country. I don't believe, like Briggs, Idaho, shutting people down because they don't agree with you. This is a free exchange of ideas. That wasn't Charlie Kirk approved for sure. He'd go into the hotbed and just talk to people. Unfortunately, he didn't have the best security team. Some people say that's by design. I don't know, on all that. But the bottom line is there should have been more invested in his security team with as much as he was doing. But he just took it to the people. And he'd let you just talk to him, and you could act like a fool, and he'd get out of your way and let you be one, and he'd kind of poke at you a little bit, but he'd let you have your say. We need to be able to let people have their say. Tea Party Bob is welcome to his opinion, and if he wins the day with convincing people that that's the way to go, then more power to him. But it's the free exchange of ideas.
I don't think we really have that anymore.
We're doing it right now.
We do, but no, I'm so with you. I'm so with you on that. I think, though, that people want to shout everybody down. They want to get their talking points out.
That's true.
Whatever happened to just having a conversation?
whatever happened to Lincoln Douglas style debates, right? I mean,
Right.
We need to see people go into the net, and we should be able to disagree without being disagreeable. I think there's a way to do that. But so many people are little babies that need a binky every time that you hurt their feelings. The American idea, the whole idea of free speech is, you have the right to have your feelings hurt. You have the right to hurt somebody else's feelings. But like if we follow Jesus' model, we speak the truth in love, seasoned with salt. Okay, it hurts a little bit, but it's going to benefit you. And we don't pull punches. We don't go out there trying to just be rude. But if people like with President Trump are just going to come at you all the time, well, he's going to dish it back, and they don't like it. Then they wet all over themselves and they go cry, or they go on The View or something like that. But real men come to the Kevin Miller Show, and they speak their minds, and you let them. And when they get out, off of time or they get off topic, you politely let them go in a nice way.
Chris, I appreciate the call. Thank you, sir.
You got it, man. Bye.
Bye-bye. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Again, yesterday we were talking about nuclear power, but coming up we'll talk a little bit about power, if you will. Power. Let's get you to work safely and on time at 580. Taking a look at a couple of things going on here. A story from Channel 7, which is interesting. I think this is something that is an example of, I would say, good journalism, if you will. I love this. Why your Idaho power bill may be higher this summer. It's not why your Idaho power bill is higher this summer. Many Idahoans are seeing higher prices. Who hasn't seen higher prices when we're talking about gasoline, when we're talking about fuel? We've got a story on our website. Gasoline was $1 cheaper last year. And I think really what it comes down to, and here's something that we should all take a look at, is the belief. Now, last hour, we were playing the clips of Al Sayed, and he was saying how, he's Mr. Common Sense and all sorts of things, and this unnecessary war. And since Idaho is one of the 3 states that if Donald Trump ran today, he would win overwhelmingly, let's put it to the test. And it comes down to our good old friend Lee Joe, who you talk about pain at the pump. There's concrete pain, and then there's abstract pain. Abstract pain is you put it on your credit card, and then you see the bill at the end of the month, and you figure out what you're going to pay and what you're not going to pay. Concrete pay is you literally physically take the money out of your pocket, the limited finite resources, and pay for it yourself. And how many of us are paying for it ourselves? How many of us are doing everything that we can and that we believe in the war effort? Whether you were in a history class, taught a history class, or what have you, there's a concept that has only been practiced maybe once or twice in the modern day American history. And modern day, I would say probably the last 100 years. I'd say the last 100 years would be the modern era, if you will. And when we're taking a look at that, the modern era, it was a concept called total war. And other countries are practicing it right now. Iran, it would be total war. Ukraine, it would be total war. Others, it would be total war. And total war is a concept where every means of production, the economy, the military, the government, the people are focused on one goal. And that's the last time this was practiced in this country was World War II. And when America becomes, motivated to be united, America's undefeated. Now, when we take a look at where we are today, how many of us are willing to take one for the team? Now, we do have the leftist that will tell us again and again and again. The leftist that will tell us again and again and again that this is an unnecessary war. We're tanking the economy. It's horrible, all sorts of things, right? That's the leftist view. But how many people that love the president, that love America, are willing to endure these high costs of gasoline, the high cost of energy? I think that's a legitimate topic. And, 10 years ago, power bill was relatively cheap. Today, that's not the case. And people are, the affordability crisis, especially in Idaho. You have an issue where you have people that, all they want is the American dream. Is it up to government to provide that for them? That's another debate question. But how many of us are willing to endure what we're enduring? And quite frankly, compared to others, not much at all. All right, it's been a while since we've glommed on something from Channel 7, but here they had a chance to talk to the spokesperson from Idaho Power, who's going to explain why the power bills are so high.
We understand that when costs go up, that can be a burden for people.
Idaho Power says residential rates increased about 10% at the beginning of the year. That's about $12 per month on average. Another 3% rate adjustment took place in June, which the company says was driven in part by a below average water year. That's about a $3 increase per month.
So another reason to be a cheerleader for water. Another reason to be a cheerleader for water is that the lower the water, the higher the utility rates go. So they raised our rates. I think they want another rate increase. And look, working for Idaho Power, that's a great place to work. You're always going to be employed. So not bagging on Idaho Power, but I love this. Rate increases. Growth isn't paying for itself. We have to pay for growth, take it on the chin, work longer, work harder, get less return on investment. We understand. Well, do you understand with a rebate? Do you understand with, making us feel loved and whole and everything else?
With less water available for hydropower, Idaho Power says it has had to rely more on other energy sources that cost more, and that's also reflecting on your energy bill. The company says the summer heat is driving up electricity use as more customers run air conditioners to keep their homes cool, and bad air quality has led to more time indoors. But Idaho Power says they have options available to help.
We have a program that's called Project Share. So that's bill assistance. And we have some other bill assistance options that are available to people as well. So that's just if you're not able to pay your bill for whatever reason. We do have options for that as well.
Oh, there we have it. So back to the propaganda. And look, being the spokesperson for Idaho Power at this time, got to be tough. You have a lot of people that, the spokespeople aren't used to speaking. And so here you have this poor gentleman we've got this program and that program. What's really missing here is the Bill Clinton, I feel your pain moment. I feel your pain. Now, Bill Clinton didn't feel any pain. Bill Clinton was up to his old shenanigans. But he made us feel like he was feeling our pain. He made us feel like that he was one of us. Like President Trump does. All right, so nobody's biting on, are you happy with higher utility bills? Are you happy to support the war this way? One thing that you can't say about our country and our city and our area, have you seen the ghouls rising up from the sewer systems? Did you see this online? It was a viral story online where apparently there are people, I believe it's New York City. It's like really out of a movie where the cameras that we used to think were funny that now watch everything that we do, everything that it's about, they're recording people coming up that are physically, mentally, literally living in the sewers of these major cities. And apparently, like the old song says, the freaks come out at night. And they're coming out wearing some type of masks or some craziness. Now, I don't know if that's V for Vendetta. I don't know if it's anarchy. I don't know what it is, but it's kind of eerie when fiction is, becoming literal, where people are coming up, like vampires at night. Craziness. One story that Fox News led with, and that we should talk about as well, Great news for the President of the United States. And it's always funny when the president wins one. He went to the Supreme Court and said, look, I'm worried about mail-in ballots. I'm worried about whether or not. Now, I love Lars Larson on the story with an expert last night. Just didn't wing it. Lars, great guy. Catch him every day at 4 here at 580 KIDO. But so the president gets this major victory. And then you have the snide, snarling liberal wackos. Kevin, why do you watch the liberal wackos? Why not? Why not? I like to know what they're saying. I like to know what they're about. And I'm sitting there listening to this. The Supreme Court said that the president can take a look at these ballots to make sure that they're good to go. The president can take a look and make sure that the elections are legitimate. And instead of praising it, we have, well, it's a short victory, and we don't know whether or not it's going to hold up. But no, this is significant. The most credible thing that we need to have is legitimacy and credibility in our electoral process. And here you have it. The Supreme Court allows the president to pursue mail-in voting limits for now. It got carried away. We all got carried away during COVID-schmovid, right? Okay, let's go to the phones as our dearly departed Phil Valentine, who we've lost for 5 years now. Let's go to the phones, and Brian joins us now at 580 KIDO. Hello, Brian.
Hey, Kevin, how's your soul? You doing all right?
You know something, I'm okay. How are you? I wonder about you every night.
Well, I'm not going to lie. I've had quite a few attacks, and it's been rough. But, and that kind of plays into what you're talking about. Kevin, I'm a multi-generation Idahoan. So ask me a question, any question you want. Go for it. What makes whatever?
What makes the world go round?
What makes the world go round? Mommy and daddy, which leads to what I wanted to talk about. Who's your daddy? Kevin, in the movies and on TV, they always try to portray life as nothing but, peace, rainbow, and joy. They really try to portray that nature is all happiness and nothing ever bad happens. And what are then of the things that makes Idahoans unique, at least long-termers that have been here a long time, that grow up in nature, is we love nature. It reminds us of God, but it also reminds us we're human and we're weak and we're mortals, and this is all temporary, and that you have to take the pain with the good. It's both. And I guess I'm an expert in that matter because I've had a genetic condition my whole life where I'm always in pain. So, you said this all the time, Kevin. Who's your daddy? Trump's your daddy. You don't like what he's doing? Oh, well, I had to deal with Bill Clinton, Obama, and Let's Go Brandon. And they were my daddies. So suck it up, you little thin-skinned wusses, because one thing us Idahoans are good at is dealing with pain and dealing with reality and moving on. Kevin, prices have been going up ever since I can remember. I mean, I can go back to the times when gas was like a quarter, 50 cents. And I remember when my dad would complain that a visit to the hospital for the same condition I had cost him $3,000. It cost me $36,000. So it's going to continue to go up. All these politicians, I know they're human. I know Trump's human. I know they're all human. They all make mistakes, and we all pay the price for it. So here's my advice, and I'm not saying this is Brian. I'm saying this is all the generations that came before me that I knew, my great-grandparents, my grandparents, and my parents. Suck it up. You were sent down on this planet to gain experience, and that experience isn't just to feel love and joy and peace. It's to deal with the crap. And you know what makes you a man or a woman more than anything is dealing with the crap. In Idaho, we take cow crap and mix it in with the soil and grow things. Maybe that should be a lesson to you all. We literally take crap and make something good out of it. So, that's what Idahoans know. And what Idahoans also know is there's consequences. You can have your fun for a little bit of time, or you can slack off and think that there's, everything will be okay. Now, if you don't prepare for winter comes and you freeze your butt off.
Yeah.
And you got nobody to blame but yourself. So,
what do you make of the, hearing the Idaho Power guy, who would have thought that the lack of water would cost us more money? You know what I mean? It's cost us a lot of things, but I never really understood that until now.
Kevin, I'm not anti-corporation. I'm not anti-government. They all have their flaws and their positive, I've worked for both the government and corporations, and, the leftists will be like, oh, we got to have the government control more corporations and their Republicans. And they're both flawed. Hey, Kevin, you know why I'm a Republican? Because it's the lesser of two evils. Do I like everything every Republican and all the Republicans have said my entire life? No. I just have to pick which one's worse. I'm sorry, I'm not a particular fan of donkeys. I like elephants more. They're a little more intelligent. Not much, but a little more. But I've had to learn how to deal with donkeys. I deal with it all the time. I even deal with Democratic socialists in my own family, Kevin, and they're mad at me because I'm what I've always been, an Idahoan who's a Republican, who's a Mormon, and likes guns. Now I'm the bad guy because I'm the same guy I've always been. I was born this way. I haven't changed. I'm still the same guy I was when I was 3. But everybody else has changed, and they're mad at me because now I'm the far right. I remember when the far right was the guy with the shaved heads and the tattoos, and they went and did all these horrible things. I never did any of those things. I was a good Christian. I went to church. I served a mission. I was an Eagle Scout. I was a duty to God. I got the highest honor for getting the most awards. I've done all those things, and now all of a sudden, I'm a Nazi. I'm the problem. So what's changed, Kevin? Have I changed? Or is the world changed? And I'm not complaining because I literally believe that God sent me down here to deal with all these problems, to gain experience so I could be like him. That means putting up with all this crap. And you know what I'm going to do with that crap? I'm going to figure out how to mix it into the ground and grow something with it. So,
My man. Brian, thank you. I got to run. Let's go to Mark, the watchdog of Eagle. We'll get him in before the break. Mark, good morning.
Good morning, sir. Yeah, first off, you know what? Idaho Power, tell me and explain why, with all the growth that you like to point to, why you keep incessantly getting approvals from our Public Utilities Commission for your constant rate increases. How come we have Intermountain Gas that is usually lowering their rates during the year? They have filed, if you look at your last bill, guys, everybody out there in the KIDO listening audience, you'll notice they're filing for about a 3.6% decrease. Intermountain Gas is one of the most honest, I think, utility companies out there. Idaho Power, I don't know about you guys. I really do not. So stick that in your pipe and smoke at the head of Idaho Power. Now I want to get to the oil prices. Okay, we hear about the petrodollar. What's the difference between the U.S. dollar and petrodollar? Now, I'm going to read this real quick. The petrodollar is not a separate or different currency. It is simply a standard U.S. dollar, USD in parentheses, earned by a country from exporting crude oil. It goes a little bit on from there. But tell me something. Explain, since if you look back, the highest price per barrel, Kevin, was in July 2008, $147.27. The average for a price for a gallon of gas hit an all-time peak of $4.11. Now, here we have today the oil price per barrel at around 82, 83 bucks per barrel. Why did John Jackson, in my John Jackson station here, feel that he had to raise his gas prices up to $4.69 and 9/10, $4.70 a gallon, based on a much lower per barrel price? Now, you had some guy call in and try to say inflation. If it's inflated, then the barrel price would be inflation also, you ninny. I don't know where he ever came up with that one, as trying to explain why we're paying more per gallon with a cheaper price per barrel than we were back in 2008 of July. So this whole thing is BS. And again, where are the shortages? There's supply and demand. I'm so sick of hearing supply and demand. The supply has always been there, everybody. It's always been there. We've never been on gas rationing like I pointed out here. We've never been on odd, even days like they did during the U.S. oil or Arab oil embargo back in the 70s. So explain to me. I think Trump is not going to get the oil companies to bend over and listen to us or listen to him. He can do this with the eggs, but he's not doing it, if you notice, with the oil companies, and they're screwing us royally for what they're charging and what they're paying for a barrel of it.
They've always screwed us. They've always screwed us, Mark.
Thank you, sir. You have a good day there. I know you have to go to hard break.
Thank you, Mark. Kevin Miller, 580-KIDO. Tom, for sponsoring this portion of the program. We, I guess we could say that we could say the website sponsors the program. And again, depending on who you talk to, there's the cake and then there's the frosting. But we're always very proud of people that put in the good original work. And our friend, little Alec Simone, and he's not little, he's taller than I am. They call him Slim, Boise State graduate, has put together some good stuff. And Kevin Miller finally got these up on the website. But here we have the new menu items at Boise State football, also the hand-painted helmet, all revenue-producing opportunities here at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. So we want to make sure that you take a look at that and all sorts of other stories on our website. And here's another one. We're very proud to announce Idaho's biggest air show is back. It's going to be in Nampa. And if you live in the Canyon County area, and even in parts of Ada County that border Canyon County, particularly like Star or Kuna or whomever else, the cool thing about this is you're going to get to see or hear these airplanes flying. And for lack of a better term, I'm not saying that it's descriptive here, but it's not an accurate description. It's I'd say the people that work at the Warhawk, it's not a job, it's a lifestyle. And I don't want to say it's a cult, because it's not a cult, but these folks are just into it, and they are into it, very much so. And these people do an amazing job of keeping these airplanes flying safely, the pilots. And, we're in an air war right now. We're in an incredible air war right now. And if it hadn't been for all those people that have preceded us, you take a look at the Berlin airlift. You take a look at what we did during World War II. That's amazing when you're looking at this type of effort that has gone into keeping us safe again and again, year after year. So to honor that, we have our friends at the Warhawk Museum that are doing just outstanding work. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Let's get you to work the right way. 580-KIDO traffic. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Kevin, from the Pacific Steel and Recycling Studio. Traffic heavy and steady crossing the county line. You're going to be stopping, and that backs up into the Garrity area. Still working that accident on the freeway right between 5 Mile and Maple Grove. They should have that cleared up shortly. And working the accident on Meridian Road at East Quartz. Vincent Lumber is your cedar factory outlet, saving you up to 70% off the big box stores. Now in Cuna, online at vincentlumber.com. I'm Dave Burnett.
KIDO. We roll on. We go to our great friend Dave Petso now. Dave Petso now, host of Money Matters and, of course, all things money, money, money. Dave, great to have you with us. Good morning, sir.
Kevin, it's great to be here. Thank you for having me on this beautiful day.
Well, we begin with the economic war on Canada. I'm sure you're very happy about it.
Yeah, this is what we need, you know. I wish Trump wasn't so bombastic. I wish he seemed to have a plan or articulated it better, I suppose. But he is determined on tariffs and seems to be winning on most other fronts. And as many people have pointed out in the past, his polling numbers went down with the tariffs a year ago, a year and a half ago now, and have stayed there. But he seems determined to continue on and pick fights with our best friends and loudly. I don't understand the strategy. Doesn't seem to make any sense to me, and I think he's got bigger fish to fry. But now we're going to talk about whether we're going to rename Lake Ontario and nonsensical things, picking fights with completely irrelevant provincial governors or whatever they are called. It just doesn't make any sense. It's almost like back to Trump 1.0, where he's picking fights with washed-up comedians.
It's a tough one, though.
Anyway, Kevin, I don't get it. I don't like it. I don't like this is so distracting. The broad-based agenda of destroying Iran. He seems to be on top of it. Scott Bessent has been putting some actual real pressure on them economically. He seems to be holding China at bay. Nobody talks about that, but they don't seem to be pushing any stronger. There are a number of things that this administration has done that are absolutely off the rails great. They're just incredible. Remaking government internally. These are huge things. Making nice with Silicon Valley, figuring out AI. Can you imagine Kamala with AI? Let's just shut her all down, and all of these things that would be unbelievable. No, we want to get along with Iran. They're very nice people, really. It's not a problem. But all of those things we were close to, and I just am so concerned about all this bloviating of nothing and picking fights with nobody that we're heading back into this spiral as we head into the midterms that could really hurt the Republicans on the margins, and that's all it takes is on the margins.
Well, before we get to the midterms, Dave, I just look at the headlines. You go beyond the headlines here at 580 KIDO. What was the hiccup, the back and forth with the bond market? What does that mean to all of us?
Kevin, that's the thing. You know, as we talked last week, watching this bond market is huge. Talked about it a lot on Saturday, and it is. What's happening here with the Treasury intervening? It's a canary in the coal mine. You know, it's one of those things. It's not. Maybe that's too strong a term because this is just an indicator of underlying that interest rates are really wanting to go higher. There's too much competition for money between AI and the government. I don't think it's because or solely because the government is now at $40 trillion. Those headlines are important. They are. But 39 trillion was a lot, right? It's not that we've now got to 40 trillion that it's a big problem. Headlines are just, that's what they are, Kevin. And going beneath it a little bit more, yes, it's a contributing factor that the U.S. government has so much money out there. and that we can't get our act together, that we decide that we're going to completely bury future generations, which, of course, until we decide that's a moral issue, it'll keep happening. This is one of the factors. The rest is borrowing money in mass for AI, data centers, all those things that we have to build out to stay ahead. All of those things are competing for the same dollars. Not maybe the exact same, but certainly, once again, on the margins. If those rates are going higher, treasuries are going higher. And that's really the function. There's a lot of borrowed money out there. It's not dangerous. It's not borrowed money that's on leverage and all those things. That's not the problem. The problem is, will AI pay off, and is there a lot of competition? And now the Treasury senses we could get some runaway interest rates, which would impact the economy, and they're acting like there's a big problem. So Wall Street's a little nervous.
Well, and, you and I have talked about this for years, along with that great deficit hawk, Senator Crapo. But what was it, a few years ago, it was $20 million. Now it's accelerated.
Yep.
Could this be the thing that ends your beloved run at the stock market here, this national debt?
If national debt becomes a problem and nobody really knows where, people talk about it, well, it needs to be X percent of GDP, but then Japan is, over the top on that one years ago and was always going to have a problem, and you just can't simply say Japan's about to implode, for 30 years and it doesn't happen. It just, we don't know, Kevin, and that's the issue with it. And if the U.S. government deficit creates, if you will, a run up in gold and Bitcoin and all these other things, and debasing the U.S. dollar, this is a major catastrophic problem for everything. I don't think that Bitcoin and gold are necessarily just exactly tied or making the bet that it's going to be debased. It's just all of a sudden this is also turning around, and it is a debasement trade. It is for today. They'll make up another reason to trade it tomorrow, but that's what it is today. And people are moving over to that as a, quote, safe haven to it. But the dollar has steadied. It's not really that big a deal right now. But when the Treasury starts coming in and buying, I get a little nervous. Like, why? Why are you here? I thought we were undoing the nonsense that we did since 2009. We were trying to wind up and quit pretending that the U.S. government can determine everything, or the Federal Reserve, the gods at the Federal Reserve can somehow just manipulate interest rates and buying back bonds and never have inflation and have interest rates at zero. I thought we got over that. And here we are back in manipulating the markets. And that just sounds like they're scared. And that's why the market's kind of flinching right now on a lot of things. It's not like the market's tanking. It's just, in general, the bond market is flinching. Interest rates have moved a little bit higher, not grossly, but a little bit higher. And people are like, why is the Treasury in here doing this? What's going on? And we have $40 trillion. So people are talking around the edges, and I think that creates that fear that you're talking about. And it's worth having this discussion, Kevin. This isn't false fear. It's very real. It's a problem that's been coming for decades. We don't deal with it because we're not adults. All the adults must have died with the greatest generation, because these adults will not do the hard work of convincing the American people that we have to do something about spending away our children's future.
Dave Penso joining us here at 580 KIDO. So, Dave, how do we get out of it? I love asking these questions. I love asking these questions.
Yeah, I know.
Well,
that's a great question. Yeah, I've been pondering this one for days. No, but I will say it's really not that hard. We have to simply not spend so much money. And it's just your favorite program, my favorite program, the farmer's favorite program, all that stuff. We're going to have to, across the board, say, no, enough's enough. What isn't working in this country is pretty self-evident. Education is terrible. It's just, how does something get worse over the last 40 years? Name anything, any industry, anything, anywhere. Okay? Maybe you feel worse socially, or you like the way it was back in Mayberry times, or what have you. But the point is that everything's improved. Your cell phone is way better than the first edition. All technology, all things, everywhere. And we sit around and go, yeah, what we really need is more money in the schools. We need new schools. We need new school teachers. We need new ideas, not more money to do the exact same thing that isn't working. Those are the kind of things that are right in our face, very easy to be adjusting, and that's what all the state governments spend most of their money on. It's not just Idaho. Kevin, you're right up on this number, but I don't think I'm far off saying 75 or 80% of tax receipts go to education in our state. And it's getting worse, and it has forever. This doesn't make sense. We need changes like that, and we need an honest dialogue that says, is it really working for minorities in the inner cities to have them basically make babies, don't have the dads around? I know that's a racist comment, but here we go. But all those things, and that's okay, just keep throwing money at them because we've got a voting block. It seems evil that we don't fix and change things that are affecting the poorest and the most disenfranchised in our society. Instead of trying to fix the problems, we just throw money and pretend that way we get our votes and we're doing good out there. And those are just two examples. And I don't think you need Doji to come roaring back to say those things, but we do need structural reform on Social Security, Medicare, and no, don't touch I got it. Don't touch go touch somebody else's stuff. And we cannot seem to have adults get together, and I think the case can be made. I really do. I think Americans are not this stupid that it's just, I just want my money now, and I don't care what happens to my kids and grandkids or the overall economy. It'll all work out. That's not true. And so we do need that. But I do also think that AI is going to rescue us in the long run.
I think the challenge, though, is the loss of credibility in the belief that government can do it. You go back to Simpson Bowles, that really never went anywhere. I mean, who is going to work with the president? Who is the president going to work with? No one sees the issue, as you've said, bigger than themselves. And I think a lot of people would be willing to step up, but then they see what's going on in Minnesota, the healthcare fraud and all this stuff and all the foreign aid being used and wasted. And then you think to yourself, well, you're darn right I don't want you to touch my stuff. You're wasting it all. It's a challenging state of affairs.
It really is. It's a big country with so many different constituencies, and it just feels like at some point we need to have a Ronald Reagan type person that can bring 60% of the country together to make tough decisions, where somebody, a leader that can reach across the aisle, that can and force the other side to do things because he brings that message to the overall people. And we've got caught in this world, boy, for a long, long time now, where the left and the right are so far apart and scream and yell at each other, and the left has gone completely crazy now. It doesn't look like you could have any conversation with these nut jobs at all. I mean, it's not. They don't even pretend anymore that they're going to run to the center. These are really crazy ideas that have never worked anywhere at any time, and you don't even have to go. Well, and some of the ideas haven't even been tried because they are so stupid. And it's one of those things that we're in a really difficult environment where to think that you could solve big problems like they tried to do. We really need a flushing of this political dialogue that we have now, where it's just TikTok bites and see who can be the most outlandish, bizarro person to hate America, to show how much they hate America, how racist we are, and all those things that are just, it doesn't make any sense. If you're really trying to solve problems, and they're not. And that's the thing that we need are some problem solvers, but we need more of them, not the handful of people that really seem to want to come up with ideas.
More coming up with our great friend at Dave Petso, 580-KIDO. You like to get out. You like the nightlife, correct?
Oh, Kevin, I'm good if I make it till 9:30 at night. But yeah, I mean, if there's something going on, absolutely, Shakespeare, whatever. Yeah, I do.
You go to the Shakespeare thing. Boy, that was too hot for me. I went there one year and I made it to like half of the thing, and I'm out of here, bro.
Well, for me, it's just that it's like, oh my gosh, you're home like pretty late. But it's such a great venue in Boise. It's so I don't know. I just think it's a real treat to have that type of thing available and available for decades here in Boise.
Yeah, you sophisticated types. So anyway, are we in danger of having an entertainment bubble? And let me just go into it. You already know this, but for people listening at 580 KIDO, we have the Revolution. I think they're leaving Garden City. They're going to move to the new Tommy Ahlquist facility in Meridian, which makes a lot of sense when you think about the growth going on. We have the Fort Idaho Center. We have the Tree Fort Center. We have 2 downtown arenas. We have the place in Emmett, Smokey Joe's or whatever, that's doing insanely well, bringing in acts. And there are more and more entertainment options, more and more, never mind. You've got the soccer team now that they're in fact going to, do concerts. You've got the Hawks that do concerts, Boise State doing concerts. Even our friends at the Meridian Speedway, they're bringing in monster trucks, which I would imagine monster trucks at that quaint arena is going to be probably the most insightful, in-depth look you can get at those things because you're so close to the action. Never mind the rodeos and everything else, the old standbys. Are we going to be in danger of having an entertainment bubble because these things cost money? They're not getting cheaper, and there's not enough money to go around, sir.
Yeah, there's always a possibility of that. And it's not just a money issue. I think it's also, how many concerts do you want to go to every week? And is it something that some of the concerts you want to go to? I think most people pick and choose a few. And if there's so many of them, does our population warrant that many? And as you point out, though, also the price. And also the price of going. Okay, a beer is $18 at a soccer game that's professional, yes, but 1, 2, 3rd level. That's a lot. It honestly is. And so you look at those things and you go, okay, it's not going to just cost that ticket, whether it's a concert or anything else. What about dinner before or beverages there? All of those things add up to a lot. And I think that the revenue for these places comes from those sales, as you well know, Kevin. It's, the ticket price basically goes to cover the expenses of the arena. There's no way you can do it without selling hot dogs and beer. You can't. And so those types of things are very important. But if they charge too much, Kevin, people will simply go to dinner before and not partake there. All of those things feed into it, and people aren't drinking as much. And so all of those things feed into this, in my opinion. It's tenuous. I also think that when you go to a lot of concerts, and we do, like during the Boise Open, by the time the Saturday night rolls around, or I should say Sunday morning, we're done. We're like done. We don't need another concert. We don't want another concert. We love our friends, but we need a day. We need some time. And it's the whole thing that kind of you just get overdone. And I'm not sure that Boise, with all these venues and all these things, it's fun. It's great. Lots to do. And I love that. But I'm not sure they're going to sell out all of these different places all the time, which is what they need to do. It's a very tough business, as you well know, Kevin, to stay alive in at any arena at all, because it is very, it sits there empty most of the time.
Yeah, and again, now you've got the new world of Boise State, and for years the athletic department didn't have control of Extra Mile. I think they have control of the Vittles now at Albertsons as well. But you're going to have not only monster trucks, the Savannah Bananas, And I don't know, going back to the Savannah Bananas, a lot of people were disappointed because, and you'll love this is a generational thing. The Bananas, or there wasn't even the Bananas, the B or C team actually cared more about performing for the phone than they did for the 37,000 people that paid really, really good money to go to that thing. Talk about a changing audience dynamic.
Yeah. You're right. All these things are changing, and I'm not sure you don't get a little bit of entertainment fatigue, and from all of it. And I'm just not sure that we all are going to make a living in the future being entertainers of various kinds, because I think these are a fun thing. Do I go get season tickets? Do I go get season tickets to this? It's like people have talked about. I'm very, very happy that the soccer team is doing well, and I wish them the best. I really mean that. I think it's an awesome adventure, and people that have the guts to put their money into something as difficult to get going as that is, and their time and talent, it is a really difficult thing to do. It is really the first couple of years of the Boise Hawks or soccer are going to be fairly easy. It's after that, are people like, yeah, that's pretty cool, but, and they're on to the next thing. I don't know. That's going to be all of these different venues are going to have to deal with that. Do I really want to see the next, Me Too act over at this particular venue? I like the smaller ones outside. Just my business brain says, I think that works better but where you don't need to draw as many people, but people also clear out in the hinterlands, if you will, don't have to fight traffic all the way in unless it's a band they really want to see. And I think the local ones are going to be able to attract people on a more regular basis with smaller, really good bands or what have you, entertainment, and do really well, because I think the people in Emmett and Star and Middleton and all that stuff, it would be great to go to a smaller local venue because they're going to see their friends there too. And all of it becomes a social event as well. Kind of like the Boise Open.
Dave Petzo proving he's not tired of the Boise Open. So let's go to Dr. David Hahn, the 8th president of Boise State University. The guy's an engineer, mechanical engineer, holder of 12 U.S. patents. This guy doesn't play around, very different from Marlene Trump. Dave Petzo, you and I have talked about this. Tommy Alquist and I have talked about this. His move and the expansion of Micron, could we see something, maybe it's happening already, we're not aware of it, like the Silicon Slopes that they have in Utah, Research Triangle Park like they have in North Carolina, obviously Silicon Valley in California. You go back to the original vision of the Micron founders that they could do it more cheaply, more efficiently, more affordably in Idaho. And now you have a guy who knows research, knows technology, knows engineering at the helm of Boise State that could really ramp that thing up, perhaps a greater future beyond football for Boise State University under Dr. Hahn.
In my opinion, it's the only chance that Boise State has. And any college, it's not just Boise State, I'm not picking on them. The only chance they have is to be very specific and start thinking in terms of 2-year degrees, 1-year degrees, trade, and get people ready for these types of things that are rapidly changing. Otherwise, companies are going to continue to do it on their own. They're going to just find really smart people, bring them in, and then give them training specific to what they need them to do. And engineers that's fine, but people can if their brains are. I'm not saying anybody or everybody. Nobody's like Elon Musk, but I'm saying if they have an engineering type of a brain along those lines, he doesn't need formal school. They don't need formal school. They've had plenty of it, the way their brain works. Now they need specific training and working with AI to build out, with their imagination, the next generation of, quotes, chips, whatever it is we're going to do. And that's going to be all of these companies' drive to stay alive, especially with the advent of AI. You think about, there literally are 20-year-old people out there, and I'm not talking about 5 of them or 10 of them. There are hundreds, thousands of them, maybe millions now, that are now out there in the 20-somethings that have literally a dozen, 24, 50 different AI agents running different businesses. I listened to a podcast with one of them who literally is 22 years old and has $100 billion of revenue from various companies. He's like the CEO of all these AI agents. That's the future for all these young folks, the brilliant ones. It's not going to a 4-year university. So I think we're going to have to change that whole dynamic. And if this is a person that is has that engineering brain, he's very much up on it. I'm sure. I don't know him personally at all, or what's going to happen. But this has to happen at every university, in my opinion. I just don't see it being the quotes past university experience. And I came out with a 4-year liberal arts degree, and I'm ready. Here we go. It's just I don't see that happening. We'll see.
Yeah, and again, you go back to public-private partnerships. Apparently now, I think Eagle High School, you can get a bachelor's degree. I saw the release there with out of high school. But this really and again, oh, by the way, congratulations for getting the lead in the CNBC article. See, this is what Dave Petso doesn't get. Most people would be bragging about that, but I caught that article, and major props to you. And when CNBC says that you're the official reporter historian of Micron, that's huge props for you, bro.
Oh, thank you, Kevin. I appreciate that. We're going to get that article. We just saw that come out this last week, and I had a lot of fun. But Kevin, I've told you this too personally. You and I've run down memory lane on this amazing company for a long time, and I'll just let you in on this real quick. It was just one of those things where when they called and wanted to do this, I said, absolutely, that would be super fun. And when I talked to the reporter the very first time, she was great, had a list of things she wanted to go through, but opened it up and said, what do you want to talk about? And I said, I think it's a bigger story. This is a stunning thing that, and I went through the history like you and I have done, and they were super interested in blowing this out to an important story. And I thought that was it's good. Props to them too for seeing the story behind the story, which is really all of the generated revenue throughout Boise.
Well, no, and like I said, now hold on, let me give you a hard time. So the media is good in this one when they interview you. Just kidding, but I thought, but in all seriousness, we do have that article, and we'll link to it with Dave in it. But when I saw Dave, because I go, what kind of articles if they don't have Dave Petso in it? And lo and behold, but you take a look at Micron with their newfound influence and resources. Going back to that public-private partnership, you could have Boise State be the feeder system. I believe CWI now is creating new programs as well with the AI and the chips. So what I'm saying and thinking is this Boise State guy, Dr. Hahn, he speaks the language of the Micron people. It's all coming together, it appears.
It is. I hope that it is, Kevin, because what is going to change the trajectory in a negative way for Micron will be changes in technology. I don't think, regardless of what some people, but particularly on the left, we need to stop the AI, the data centers and all that stuff is nonsensical. It's made up. It doesn't make any sense at all. But that's probably just a PR problem for the high-tech companies. They've done this very poorly, honestly, scaring us to death about jobs and all those things, and instead of addressing it. And now we're seeing it, right? They show comparisons of how much water it uses, and it doesn't use energy. And President Trump was right on top of this and came out and said, you will generate your own power, not off the grid, or you can't build one. That's my proclamation. And of course, then you're like, okay, then guess what's going to happen in Kentucky? Their energy costs locally are going to go down. Now, that message has to get out, not the other message of made-up stuff. It'll take time. But it is going to be the technology that takes down the microns, the data centers, all those things, because the advent of AI means chip manufacturing can change. They can try and experiment with zillions of things over short periods of time, not even with the humans, just humans in charge of these models, trying to figure out how to make a better chip, which could be completely different than the HDMI or whatever it is that they're all, not HDMI, but whatever it is. Those chips that Micron is charging unreal amounts of money may not even exist in the future data centers. That's how fast the technology is moving, and that's how fast Micron has to move to stay in front.
Dave Pezzo, star of CNBC.
Yeah. Well, just talk to them, and they'll say, Dave, who, where? Yeah. Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate the props. Thank you.
All true, Dave Pezzo. We'll catch you this week on Saturday. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Have a beautiful day. Thank you.
Dave Pezzo, that CNBC article, how Micron is changing Boise. You can Google that, and he'll appear. Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. Let's get you to work the right way. Court of Appeals ruled that the district courts cannot block immigration enforcement actions based solely on allegations against ICE agents. More deportations on the way. And people are talking a little bit more about these professional athletes that now are going back to play college. Conferences have been stating this. Apparently, this just in, college athletes, not former professional athletes, have been at the heart of the Southeastern Conference. Individuals who choose to leave college, sign professional playing contracts, and compete professionally should not then be permitted to return to college competition. Allowing that to occur will blur the line between college and professional sports, creating significant competitive equity concerns and reduce opportunities for high school and current college athletes. And then, so there's their statement. We don't know if people can really stop this legally, but we will talk about it. We'll also talk to Chandler in a minute, but first, Ron Grant joins us now at 580 KIDO.
Paid for by Ron Grant, your safer money specialist.
And here he is, the return of Ron. Good morning, Ron.
Good morning, young man. How are we doing today?
Not bad, all things in general, as we roll along. Let's talk a little bit about trade wars, real wars, money wars, bond wars. There's a lot of uncertainty, Ron. Is it possible, really, really, truly, to keep your money safe?
Yes, sir. 100% safe. My clients and I sleep at night knowing that we can't lose our principal. And, of course, we can't lose any gains that we've already earned. And every year there is a gain. We lock it and go one way, and that's up. The most important thing that we can have almost at any time, Kevin, is an income stream, a pension-like product. And that's what I do. I've done for myself. I do for my clients. We make sure that they have a lifetime income that they can't outlive out of the risk and the fees of the Wall Street casino. If you're married, when one spouse passes, the other spouse gets that income for the rest of their life. And then when they pass, whatever's left goes to the beneficiaries. You know, it's important, Kevin, to have something like that because the volatility, just as you stated, we got volatility all around the world. We don't want to lose what we worked hard for. Many of us work 30, 35 years or more to amass that wealth to have. That's our dignity money, the money that we need to live on. And that's how we take care of it with my money and my clients' money.
Ron, how can people get a hold of you, big boy?
Well, I put together an educational website that they can go on 24/7. Excuse me, articles to read, videos to take a look at. There's even a book to download, 10 Things to Know About Retirement Income. And that's safermoneyspecialist.com. But, you know, let's have a phone conversation right here in the Treasure Valley about how you can have a guaranteed income that you can't outlive, unlike the traditional retirement plans offer. Zero stock market risk, and most importantly, Kevin, legacy protection for you and your family. So 208-660-1372.
As always, Ron Grant, we appreciate you, little buddy.
Appreciate you, and you have a wonderful day.
Paid for by Ron Grant, your safer money specialist.
And we go to Chandler, who joins us now at 580 KIDO. Hello, Chandler.
Hey, Kev, good morning. I got a real simple solution. I don't know why the simple solutions are so hard for people to get or understand. So, right now I'm, 10-15% of what I make goes to Social Security and Medicare, so once again, despite all the sloganeering of these stupid Republicans since 1930, socialized medicine, and we just, what else happening? Well, if you got a funding problem, if you pay any more, you get more. So if wages were up, you'd have more money. That's how it would work. So instead of keeping wages down, instead of paying less, pay more. Pay more to people. You'll have more in taxes. You'll have these self-absorbed, selfish baby boomers. They get their 3% COLA wage increase every year, which I wish I would get. So we can afford that. We can afford all these things. So why don't we hear this argument? Why don't we hear this argument about paying people more so the government has more money? Like, why does somebody make that argument? Why are we so addicted to cheap wages, undercutting people? And another way to fix everything is the reason why air travel is so safe is you're required to speak English. They figured out that due to miscommunication problems, the language barriers, a lot of people have gotten killed, a lot of airplanes have gotten crashed. So worldwide, that's the standard. So if we took every manufacturing environment, I don't know, like maybe Micron, and required you had to speak English there, or other manufacturing places, then there you go. You'd have a safety thing, and you'd, basically enable more people who are native English speakers to be employed. I mean, the problem today with manufacturing that none of these knuckleheads talk about is because you bring in all these people from all these places, and unfortunately a lot from South America, you can't get a job in manufacturing if you're not bilingual. So how fair is it to the, good, hardworking Idahoan who grew up here, speaks English competently, actually does speak English competently, can read and write, but they don't speak Spanish, they can't get a job. Like, how is that okay? Like, how is that environment all right? So there you go. There's your two solutions. Regarding the Micron thing going in a new direction, they kind of screwed the pooch on that. I remember some years ago I had a conversation with somebody at BSU. All those really well-paying vocational technical school programs that they had, they basically split them off and created UWI. So that's where you go for that stuff. They could have kept them. It could have been like a Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech, Purdue, but they chose to go more liberal arts route. And so, there it is. And so I don't know what they're going to do. And when it was amazing to hear Dave Petzo talk about companies now actually training people. Wow. I mean, like it used to be, years ago, companies would actually train their people to do the job that they're hired for. That's how it was. Like, why did we get away from the system? What kind of moron didn't realize that 18-year-old kids really have no clue on what a corporation is going to need and what their business is? That's how we used to do it. So it's like returning back to what it was. I hope it will go back to where my neighbor, growing up, his father, he worked in downtown Chicago for some company, finance, and they like, hey, we want you to get an MBA, so we're going to pay for you to go to the University of Chicago. You're getting paid your salary, you're doing your work, you're doing your job, but we're going to pay for you to go get an MBA from the University of Chicago. And he got a bonus from completing it, and the company paid for it all. You used to get lesser wages to go work for a big corporation because they would train you up, you'd learn these skills, and you'd go somewhere else. And this is how we used to do it. And now we've got the collegiate industrial complex that put the burden on every other American to try and figure out at, under 20 years of age, what you're supposed to do and what skills matter from college professors who are Marxists who don't know anything, and it's not working. Like, wow, shocker. Like, who would have thought that this would have happened? So, that's what we need to do. Good luck, BSU. I mean, you got rid of those vocational technical programs, and, some of your guys can't even do basic things, so they got to go to CWI to get trained up. So, where they're going to fit, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of like, once again, what's the value? What's the value proposition? Look at all the debt you could take on. And, when you walk out of the degree, you still probably can't even do the job. So, any questions, Kev?
Boy, that's a lot, Chandler. I don't know really where we begin when we're, to answer some of your questions here or your statements. I think this, and I don't know Dr. Hahn, but I think that they finally got it right with this guy and the public-private partnership. It's going to be a boon to some businesses, probably going to be a boon to Micron when we're looking at the idea of creating something. But you're, essentially what's happening here, and I've predicted this for years, you've got the haves and the have-nots. And the have-nots are going to be serving the haves. Now, we talk about I think basically, and you do get some skills from college, but it's all marketing today. They call it the Flutie effect. And basically, it goes back to '84 when Doug Flutie threw a big pass. All of a sudden, everybody went to Boston College because everybody wanted to be a part of a winner. Nobody's done a study on Boise State, but when they won the Fiesta Bowl, everybody goes there because they want to be a part of something. And you're a part of something for 4, 5, 6, 7 years, and then you're paying it for 30 years. What's the return on investment there? Where you go get the trades and you're making big money.
Well, one pathway too I forgot to mention was, so University of Colorado Boulder, it's another example of Republican mismanagement. They basically had an idea of, hey, let's just, cut all the taxes on corporations, and make the people pay. And they really did underfund education. And part of the way they'd make it up is to get out of state. So they set a cap where you're not supposed to have more than half of your students coming from out of state because they're paying the full ride. They were paying big bucks to go there. And so they get in trouble for that on occasion. And they also brought in a lot of international students, so that's how they made it viable. The other thing that they did when they lost all their funding was they had a pretty brilliant president, and he made it basically a research university. So University of Colorado Boulder, that's pretty easy to go when I went in there, but not now. They're like a tier 1 research school. And so he brought in big corporations, brought in grants, research experiments, and they really focused on space. So if you really wanted to break into the space field, like satellite communication, all that kind of stuff, University of Colorado is probably one of the best places you can go because not only do they teach you about it, they're doing research projects. They have companies that are actively involved that are in that game. And so it's you're kind of doing what you're going to probably be working towards, gives you exposure. They actually, when I was going there, they had a really cool program where you could submit an idea for a project to go on the space shuttle. And I think the top 2 or 3 for the class actually, your science experiment went up on the space shuttle. So, that's pretty cool, right? Think about that. You had a science experiment on the space shuttle.
And how much did that cost us? Yeah. Chandler, thank you for the call. Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. And I'm trying to figure out who else is out. Lars Larson, Glenn Beck. But I take a look at where we are. And obviously there's a lot of angst, a lot of anger. I don't really know if that's going to be displayed at the ballot box. I was looking at I don't know if you saw this. And you're like, dude, I work for a living. You're the entertainer. Blow me up a balloon. Make me a balloon, clown. And from Wedding Crashers. But I'm looking at this thing, and there's a poll out where the Senate race is, you got Todd Achilles. In his poll, he's up by 4. Senator Risch goes, yeah, well, I'm up by 36 in my poll. And, I think what helps, not that I think any Republican in Idaho needs help, but what really helps the Republicans this time around, the senator, the governor, the congressman, and everybody else, is the Prop 1. Prop 1 is going to motivate people, and I suppose it's going to motivate people that are in favor of returning abortion to Idaho. But Prop 1 is going to motivate both bases to come out. And the tough part about Mr. Achilles, as articulate and well-spoken as he may be from his appearance on CNN, is that he doesn't really have a base. There's a reason why there are only 2 political parties. Are people going to be so disenchanted with a man who has served Idaho for a gazillion years, who you're not going to outwork him regardless of how old or young he is, Senator Risch, with a guy that doesn't really have a political party? That may work in Alaska. It may work 20 years from now, but I don't see it working here in Idaho. People may be frustrated, and he's right. The Democrats are scared of Idaho, and the Republicans take Idaho for granted. But that still doesn't mean that you're going to have this big groundswell of people, unless you have people, and we'll use Chandler as an example, that are just so angry that are going to vote. Look, the argument for keeping the incumbents is very simple. They have a lot of influence with people in this administration, within the next administration, and what you're buying when you're reelecting someone is that influence. That you have a senator who can call the Secretary of State is on first name basis with him. Who else has that? People that have been around, but not like Senator Risch. Now, Mr. Achilles, his job is going to be, are there a bunch of dissatisfied Republicans? Establishment Republicans are going to go with Senator Risch. The grassroots Republicans are going to go with Senator Risch because there's no reason. Then if you're a Democrat, why are you going to vote for someone that's not a Democrat unless he's the wolf in sheep's clothing? Figuratively, not literally. 580 KIDO traffic. Let's get you to work the right way. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Kevin. From the Pacific Steel and Recycling Studios, traffic down the freeway is still heavy and steady as you're coming out of Candy County into Ada County. Working an accident at Pine and Nola, that's right near Locust Grove. Look for police and paramedics working that one. Vinson Lumber, your Cedar Factory outlet, saving you up to 70% off the big box stores. Vinson Lumber, now in Kuhn and online at vinsonlumber.com. I'm Dave Burnett. That's your traffic now on KIDO.
Thank you very much for joining us here, looking at some of the headlines. This will go out to Al in Ontario. China's new hypersonic missile puts USA on notice. Oh, isn't that good news? And the Canadians are saying, we're going to cut your electricity. Well, if you have problems with your electricity, plumbing, Beacon Plumbing, beaconplumbing.com. 580 KIDO. Good morning, everybody. KIDO.
I am.
So you think it's okay for a parent to slash his kid's thing-a-ling off? You think that's okay?
I mean, do you really want to have this conversation? Are you circumcised?
Yeah, but I mean, that's all.
I know you're going, whoa, this isn't the right side with Kevin Miller. We'll get to that in a minute. We will get to that in a minute. Joining us now, our great friend, Jeff Manasso of Fox News Radio. And, you get introed by a lot of people. I don't know if that intro is in your top 5 this morning or not, but thank you for joining us, sir.
Yeah, man, I've never been introed like that, but that's cool. How are you?
Not bad. Wondering if you're very optimistic about your Packers this year.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's always that Midwest with you.
Optimistic, does it? Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. I don't know. I'm always optimistic and hopeful, but I don't know.
Well, it's that time of year, right, where everybody's optimistic and hopeful and ready to go. Especially, when we're talking about the toughest sanctions ever and the Iranians and Scott Bessent. And I like the quote yesterday. I was listening to the news conference live, and the guy goes, hey, at D-Day, we didn't warn Hitler we're coming. What's with the warning? And thankfully, you get to explain this.
Well, I think a warning is good for companies, for countries, for businesses that do business with Iran, because there's going to be consequences, according to the Trump administration. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent unveiling what he calls, in addition to Economic D-Day, Operation Economic Outcast, or the single greatest financial offensive ever marshaled against an adversary, targeting front companies, essentially, banks, businesses that Iran uses to do business. So these new sanctions are going to target the country's 5 most vital financial lifelines. You're talking about digital assets, technology, gold, aviation, shipping, all connected to Iran's oil revenue. Essentially, the U.S. is cutting off Iran from the global financial system, severing its financial connections around the world until Tehran is economically isolated. Part of this is warning of secondary sanctions for anyone foolish enough to continue, these are his words, foolish to continue conducting business with Iran. Essentially, it's an economic asphyxiation. He says countries that violate the U.S. sanctions against Tehran will also be forced out of the global financial market, backed by the U.S. dollar. So there's huge incentive for countries, for companies, to not participate in any business with Iran. Though he's giving countries trading with Iran, and here's why. He's giving them a brief period to cut off those relationships. That's what the warning's coming from. He's clarifying that the goal is not to disrupt the global economy, but to force Iran into economic isolation. All this as the financial situation in Iran is collapsing. Inflation reportedly at 70 to 90%. Members of Iran's military not being paid. Food, housing, transportation, other necessities, things like that becoming increasingly difficult to afford there. And so the basic idea, Bessent wants to make it very difficult for Iran to make money and to pay its bills. Iran has oil. It wants to sell that oil to other countries. And the U.S. says, if you help Iran sell oil, we can punish you financially. And here's an example. Say Iran sells $100 million worth of oil to China. The U.S. tells China and these Chinese companies, you can keep buying Iranian oil, but if you do, we may sanction you. And that could mean trouble for them using U.S. banks, trouble doing business in dollars. They could be blocked from parts of the international financial system. Other companies may stop doing business with China, because they don't want to get sanctioned. So these, Chinese companies have to ask themselves, is buying Iranian oil worth risking our much bigger business with the U.S.? And if the answer is no, it stops buying the oil. Now imagine doing this everywhere. The U.S. doesn't just target countries and businesses, it targets people as well. So it can go after certain individuals. It can go after the tanker being used, the shipping company, the insurance company they use, the oil buyer, the bank handling the payment, the company converting the money or the gold or the digital assets. And the goal is to make every company along the chain, the chain link with Iran and it's selling the oil say that I don't want to touch Iran because, I'll get into trouble with the U.S.
Well, then you have the big dog, China.
Yeah, and that is the big question, Kevin. You're correct. Whether Bessent actually follows through against China, because China is by far the most consequential test of this strategy. What do they do? Chinese leaders are meeting with President Trump very, very soon. I'm sure that's going to be a topic of discussion. Reuters notes that the initial announcement stopped short of sanctioning major Chinese financial institutions involved in Iranian oil trade. So, stay tuned. I think that's probably key to the strategy.
Jeff Bonasso, how about this one? Just from the Wall Street Journal, you're going to love this. Canada's responded. I mean, you're close to those Canadians. They say they're coming after us, and now they're going to hit us with the tariffs. Never a dull moment in the economic beat, is there?
Yeah, there's not, and man, it certainly ratcheted up. If you follow President Trump on Truth Social, he said a few words of choice toward Canada, toward Prime Minister Carney, towards Ford up in Ottawa, right? Ford, I think he's Ottawa. The premier who's threatening to shut off oil or electricity to the U.S. But President Trump reminded him and Carney that a lot of the energy that comes from Canada has to go through the U.S. before it gets to the other part of Canada. So we'll see. A lot of this is bluster. A lot of it's a war of words. But anybody who supports President Trump will say, yeah, he talked about this at the art of the deal decades ago.
Back when you and I were young.
Yeah, for sure.
Young Jeff Bonasso. What was that guy like?
Jeff Bonasso. He was a DJ. Really good looking.
Spinning the hits?
Spinning the hits, Milwaukee's hit music of the 80s, 90s, and today. Yeah, I still have it, and I can still hit posts when I hear songs, particular songs I used to play. It comes out of me, and you got to hit the post. That's for another conversation, another day. But good times back in FM radio.
We lured you out just for a moment. We heard you. Just for a moment, you were back.
I know.
My man, Jeff Manasso. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate you, buddy.
Jeff Manasso, just get a little hidden glimpse of that. Coming up next, we'll take more of your phone calls, 580-KIDO. Don't forget our great website, great stories. We've got what you can eat at Bronco Stadium now, the new helmets from our friend Boise State Alec. Kevin Miller, 580-KIDO. At 580-5436, 580-KIDO. So not to catch you in mid-flight, this is, again, the conversation that took place recently between Senate candidate Abdul Al-Sayed and Jesse Waters of Fox News.
Selectively. I am.
So you think it's okay for a parent to slash his kid's ding-a-ling off? You think that's okay?
Ding-a-ling?
I mean, do you really want to have this conversation? Are you circumcised?
Ding-a-ling?
Yeah, but I mean, that's a
Jesse,
personal question.
Okay.
Doc.
Ding-a-ling? Full disclosure? What's going on here?
So you probably should want to move on. You probably should want to move on.
Circumcision's different than castration.
I think it's
hope no one's eating sausage right now.
It's a problem. It's a problem that you think that you get to decide what happens between a parent, a doctor, and a patient. And I'm just saying that, yes, circumcision is surgery on a kid's ding-a-ling. So if you really want to bring that up, you can. I just think you guys are really selective about how you want to talk about these things.
Abdul, Michigan's not going for that. That is sick stuff.
And there we have it. Now, you can watch those those clips on Twitter, YouTube, and the like. But it shows you the liberal loon, Al-Sayed, going toe-to-toe. One of the stories we are following is this story out of South Carolina. Will the Graham legacy, will the Graham gravitas, will the President Trump's endorsement lead to his sister, who admitted the military is not her thing, or foreign policy isn't her thing, to getting his seat? I don't think that Darlene Graham is very comfortable being in the public eye, and who it really is. Quite frankly, I don't know if she really wants this seat, and Lindsey Graham always had trouble in the general, always had trouble in the primaries because he wasn't conservative enough for South Carolinians. The guy she's running against, a congressman, and the only reason why Donald Trump doesn't like him is he endorsed Nikki Haley and not Donald Trump. Donald Trump holding grudges against him, but not against Michael Cohen and others, the unique proclivities of the president. But you take a look at that race, and if she wins, she's going to face a pediatrician, another doctor from the Democrats. It would take a lot for that seat to turn lib, but we'll see what happens. Just something we are looking at, and of course, we'll have complete previews of that race. I'm sure Sean will have interviews with those folks coming up today at 1. I mean, the biggest newsmaker interviews, it's the one, the only Sean Hannity. A local issue that continues to percolate. We even have a D-Flock Idaho group. The issue of flock cameras and whether or not it's time for them to go.
Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office says it's moving on from the flock license plate reader cameras.
These things have been so controversial everywhere across the country. Officials say the cameras have helped solve crimes, but have some concerns about data privacy. BCSO currently uses 21 of the cameras across the county. They were first installed in late 23 and have been used in investigations ranging from stolen vehicles and missing persons to violent crimes. The cameras scan every license plate that passes and stores that information for a set period of time. We spoke with Sheriff John Allen about his concerns.
But I'm having issues with the data privacy. You've seen the stories around the nation from all over on privacy issues, people hacking, and that's a general concern for me.
And officers misusing them as well. Sheriff Allen says the department will end all 3 of its contracts with Flock Safety. Allen says he wants public input before choosing a new vendor. And Flock just announced new privacy measures after recent claims of misuse. It includes labeling every search with a criminal case number, automatic reviews of apps.
And that story out of New Mexico. Now, he's not getting rid of the cameras. He's getting rid of the provider of the cameras. And there's an old adage in law enforcement when we're talking about who really represents the people, it's the sheriff. Because the sheriff, unlike the police chief, the sheriff is elected. The police chief is appointed. So he understands his constituency is not down with the flock. So he's gotten the flock out of New Mexico. And remember, I think these started in Meridian, where there were license plate readers, but it wasn't supposed to be, used for technical things. And yet they are, but they aren't. And now you have people saying it's time for them to go. And really it comes down to, and as we approach, and we have not forgotten September 11th and the importance of it, really how America was changed. America was changed during COVID. America was changed during post-September 11th. I can remember, again, hosting a morning show with John Mounts. That's why we bring him on every year at during that time, our show. And the worries over safety and security and privacy. And you have our very own Butch Otter, who was involved with the Patriot Act and going back and forth on that. It rose him to national prominence that led him to come back and run for governor here in Idaho. But the idea of, how many of us, it comes down to a question of kind of like, are you willing to carry a firearm to protect yourself? Or to focus out a little bit more, go a little higher in the altitude, are you willing to make sure that people have guns to protect themselves? Do you trust the authority or do you trust the populace? Back to flock cameras. If in one instance we have a massive crime going on, is it good to have those cameras to be able to apprehend the criminals? Remember, anytime somebody uses a drone or somebody uses a flock camera to get the bad guys, there's always a press release. And obviously, when you have great power, there's a temptation to misuse it. And that's really what it comes down to with the flock cameras and everything else, whether or not we as a society want to get, and you heard the big debate yesterday, Lars Larson going toe-to-toe with people on this. And, is there a right to privacy on public streets? Now, we had this horrific shooting, this horrific killing in New York City, and they had cameras everywhere, and it still didn't stop Luigi Mangione from leaving, getting out of town. Did it really help the investigation? So when we have these cameras, it's something that people need to consider. Again, I haven't really heard any law enforcement official in Idaho at 580-KIDO, 580-5436 really come out against these items, against the flocks. And it's a greater philosophical question. Do you enjoy being watched? Or when you're on a public street, is there no right to privacy? More on that in a minute. We've played a lot of Al Sayed. Here's his opponent, Mike Rogers.
Al Sayed wants to represent Palestine. I want to represent Michigan. Abdul believes the government is the answer. I believe Michiganders are the answer.
And there we have it. So we have a little equal time on the program today where we have Mike Rogers talking about, his vision versus Al Sayed. He goes on and on and on. We're not in Michigan, but that's going to be probably the most contested race, the most high-profile race nationally. But back to the flock cameras, my own personal opinion. See, and again, it's not going to surprise anyone because you're going to go, well, Kevin, you're a statist. I don't really have problems with being watched. There is that looming Minority Report factor where, what are they doing? They're going to know your every move. I live a very boring life. It's not of action. It's not adventure. It's not of enthusiasm. And again, I'm not saying this is how you think, but the worst thing a talk show host can do is not give an opinion. The worst thing a talk show host can do, they're not really a talk show host, they're just a meter maid. And my opinion is, I don't have a problem with these cameras. I know a lot of people do have a problem with them, but I don't really have a problem with it because I don't really fear anything. I don't fear being watched and monitored. Does it make me unnerved? Does it make me scared? Does it make me concerned? No, not at all. And if you can, stop some people from doing this, then so be it. By the way, there isn't really an Idaho anti-flock rebellion yet. In other parts of the country, yes, there are.
I decided to get one to help my community, to help catch the bad guys.
Now, again, this is a police chief in a community getting mad because somebody questioned his integrity with these cameras. And how many of us, when we're in meetings or in a conversation, personal and professional, we get emotional? Doesn't help.
And I'm getting ridiculed for it. You guys want to call and cancel it? Go right ahead. I have no problem. But the next time grandma's missing, or your car got stolen, or you're missing money, and I can't help you, sorry. I'm just trying to be the guy. I have given 20 years to this city. My blood, sweat, and tears, missing family events, holidays.
Well, you're also paid for it too, dude. It's not like you did this, you were a volunteer. You got paid.
Work nights, weekends, and everything. And this is what I get for helping? I am not a rule breaker. I'm a law enforcement officer. I take that oath very freaking seriously. And to get slammed like I did tonight, good luck. That's all I'm going to say is good luck. I ought to do background checks on half the people that make comments.
I love your reaction next. Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. Your home for Fox News is 580 KIDO. TPB. Good morning, TPB.
Oh, and good morning, Mr. Miller. Interesting show this morning. It's absolutely amazing the naivety of people after they have been screwed so many times by their elected officials. I always say that those who ignore history are destined to repeat it. I spent 37 years dealing with so-called captains of industry doing stock and bond deals so they could bring their companies public, expand them, and introduce new products. Of all the ones I have dealt with, maybe 3% actually told the truth about why they needed the money. I couldn't stop laughing this morning that the reason Idaho Power is raising electric rates is because we have less water this year. Kevin, when was the last time we had a decrease in electric rates because we had an abundance of water? The answer is never. Why does China control so many of the ingredients that we use to make our drugs? Would you believe lower costs for drug companies? Do you think those lower costs were passed along to the people? No. Drug prices have been extraordinarily high, and drug companies have been making fortunes until Trump stopped in and created Trump RX. The gentleman from CUNA who talked about nuclear power and how safe it is. I can agree with him in terms of the nuclear power, but I don't agree with the spent fuel, and there's a lot of reasons for that. Unfortunately, we're not talking about the safety record of the nuclear power. We're talking about recycling and storing some of the most dangerous material known to man. Why do you think our government is so worried about a dirty bomb? It's because, besides killing thousands of Americans, it would render the area where it is detonated unstable and unusable for decades, even centuries. My question is, will our government write a deal with the feds, and I'm talking about our governor, that will protect Idahoans from a disaster? Because looking back on history, they have been pretty inept in the past decision-making process. This is why we had to clean up the Snake River Aquifer, because they poured radioactive material into the ground. I ask you, where was our government during the Battle of Lava Ridge? Our AG, Labrador, was the only one fighting it. Why didn't our government make sure the data centers would have to provide their own power source and reuse and repurpose the water they took out of our aquifer. Better yet, you only have to look at the infrastructure in the Treasure Valley to show how inept government really is. Look at the traffic, how bad it has gotten. It costs twice as much time and gas to get to where you're going only because of bad planning. Then it is our legislators who force us to pay $400 million a year in taxes to finance the cost of education and medical for illegals so they can give the corporate and agricultural people the benefit of lower labor costs. And, of course, don't forget the great COVID emergency orders that closed small businesses and allowed corporations to force employers to take a vaccine or lose their job. These are the same stewards of our state that gave us Medicaid expansion and said it was going to cost $400 million. That is now well over $1 billion a year. Do you really think and do you really trust these elected officials to do the best thing for the people of Idaho? I would say they have a very poor record. And
yeah, but so what does that say that they're elected and reelected?
Think about that. What does it say? The naivety of people. They don't seem to care.
Yeah.
This is why we have what we have. I mean, what has changed in the last 33 years that I've been here? Absolutely nothing. Do I love it here? Yes. You know why? Because I live in the mountains now. But I wouldn't give you 2 cents for living in that city that you call home, because it's not what it used to be. It has changed because they let it change. They let it go to hell in a handbasket. And nobody seems to care. Where is the outrage? I don't see it anywhere. I see what happened to New York City. It took 33 years for it to happen there. My friend, we're heading in the same direction, but nobody can see the light. There is a light out there, but you have to...
Yeah, it's called the train. It's about ready to run everybody over, buddy.
Thank you. You're exactly right, Kevin. Thank you very much for that comment, and thank you for my time. I really do appreciate it.
We appreciate you. You put a lot into it, so thank you. Let's go to Lee Joe at 580 KIDO. Hello, Lee Joe.
Good morning, sir. Yes, our you heard it here on KIDO. The dear police chief, who he's going to run background checks on everybody that testified against him. He's entitled to everything that he gets. This is the cultural attitude I'm talking about, folks. You want a flock camera, or you want to run flock cameras in your town, that is exactly the same as having a Stasi agent on every corner. Okay? And it only takes a flip of a policy before X, Y, or Z becomes illegal, and now you are run into the police station, you are run through the charges. This is committing pre-crimes and getting your rights violated. But it's for the greater good, and so the police officers can be more efficient. It's the actual reverse of police policy, where there's a crime, it gets investigated, you bring the perp to justice. Now it's we found a crime on a camera. There was no actual victim. We make up whatever we want to about what we see in this interpretation, and good luck, you're guilty before proven innocent. Again, violation of the Fourth Amendment, and it's plain and obvious that it is, and whether or not you're a good boy or not is not relevant. There is an individual right to freedom of travel. There's an individual right, and if you want to give it up, fine. Go find one of them Stasi dictator countries. Let a agent stand on every corner. This is the same as an agent standing on every corner, and to act like it's not, to act like you're not volunteering to have an ankle bracelet put on you is silliness. This is This is the government going out of control completely. And if you're, I may be the canary in the coal mine, but all it takes is a policy change. And now every motion you make, every time you go outside, is an allegation that you were off to do something else that was illegal, blah, 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 blah. And on it goes. And that cop, like I said, this is their attitude. The culture of the police in general in the United States is one that needs to be reformed on a regular basis. Back to Teddy Roosevelt. How did he become famous? He reformed the New York Police Department and broke and prosecuted corruption. There's nothing higher or greater about a cop.
But back to the thing, Lee Joe. Besides you, nobody's and the DFLOC Idaho people. I don't really hear people being concerned. I guess the people in Weiser, but they're kind of like their own independent sovereign nation, if you will. But I don't see anybody else being upset about it. And I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying Bob's wrong. But where's the resistance, Bub?
Well, and that's the thing, too. A lot of people are thinking that this Flock story is about big cities somewhere else, and they don't realize, no, it's actually Caldwell. It's actually Meridian. And like I say, it's still not Boise, because for some reason they don't want to give more power to the police than they already have.
Well, have they tried to implement that in Boise yet? I mean, maybe she hasn't gotten around to it. She's busy creating a lot of social media stuff.
Exactly. Well, that and destroying construction companies and not allowing building permits. She's got a lot of other socialist priorities that she's, got going. But maybe she'll just get to this one soon. You never know.
Probably after her reelection, I would assume.
Yes. And then every motion I don't see how you defend that idea that this is for the greater good. It's for the greater good until the policy changes, and then it's for your never-ending persecution. You take that one step that this is for the greater good, and you give up your individual rights. No big deal. That's what we do around this.
Well, you could say post September 11th. That's what happened.
Exactly. We don't get rights anymore since post September 11th. It's the never-ending, tiny steps, slow-boiled frog method of being controlled by the state, being told what to do. We don't have the First Amendment in Idaho, guaranteed. I was talking to a 20-year prosecutor. 20-year defense attorney, public defender's office here in Ada County, and he, we went back and forth. And basically, he told me he did not have low enough morals to become a prosecutor in Ada County. He was asked to.
Well, I mean, there's a bias there, of course.
Yeah, there's a bias, and and every time he'd get a cop on the witness stand, there were 2 or 3 that he said were actually telling the truth. Most of the time, it's making up some sort of a narrative that the judge automatically agrees with, and that's what's going to happen with the Flock cameras. This is the narrative I saw on the Flock camera. This is what I think happened. Is it what happened? Do I have to prove anything anymore? No, I'm just going to say flock this and flock that, and judge, you have to do what is for the greater good, and you got to throw this person in the hoos cow for, and it's back to you're guilty till proven innocent with this new system. You have committed the crime.
Well, I mean, what crime is committed when you're walking down the street? Lee Joe, thank you for the call. Let's go to Liberal Steve, who joins us now with Kevin Miller at 580 KIDO. That's a lot to follow.
Yeah, there's a man. No, I shouldn't say a man. There's a light pole with a camera over there. America, you better beware. They're not going to stop it. But I do, there's 300,000 or more children that go missing in the United States every year. Go missing. I want to know how many have been found by the flock cameras yet. Interesting. And when flock cameras.
Did you say flop cameras?
Flop, FLOP. When flock cameras can catch all these pedophiles in the churches day after day after, and you read it too, Kevin, day after day after day of ministers that have been SAing our children. It's horrible what's happening in the United States. Until they get life in prison, we ought to be ashamed for the amount of sexual abuse we allow to happen with rich people, poor people, anybody, that we let them get away with it. It's stupid. Look at the minister in Florida that was one of Trump's ministers, was abusing children for 10 years, and they just got him last year. Good God. Until those flock cameras can catch all them and find all those missing children that go missing every day, what good are they? They're not good for anything but license plates and tickets.
So you're against the flock cameras?
Oh, no, I'm not against them.
What are you? I don't know what you're for. I'm trying to figure this out.
Well, Apple earbuds come out 2 months ago now, and it's going to be on everyone coming out in the next 2 months. All the AirPods in your ear will have cameras. Every single one of them have a camera in them. Why?
Why are they going to be looking at my ear canal?
And if those flock cameras are so good, why don't they put them in? And if the governments think they're so good, why don't they put them in every public office, every governmental office? Because we own those offices.
Maybe they will.
We want to know what's going on in there.
Oh, maybe they will.
Yeah, but it's just a future. You're not going to be able to stop. Look at the AI. Why don't they put the AI into effect? Every morning I listen to your show, Kevin, at the top of the hour. They come on with all the car accidents, and they're always the same one. Garrity in 10 Mile, Garrity in this, all the same locations. Why don't they use AI to figure out what's the percentage of these locations and put something into place to stop them?
What would you do to stop them? Red light cameras? Red light cameras?
Yeah, could be. Well, if everybody's thinking the same, nobody's thinking, and that's the conservative movement. If everybody's thinking the same, because if the GOP leaves that lunatic in place for 2 years already, what kind of men are they? What kind of men to leave a lunatic in office? And we all know he's a lunatic. They just don't have what it takes to stand up and say it and get him out of office. Look at the stuff he's done. And look at our neighbor, Canada, how he's treated our neighbor that's never done anything to hurt us. And yet we allow it to go on.
Well, they're a bunch of freeloaders in Canada.
Well, yeah. Yeah,
they are.
I'm sorry you say that about your Canadian neighbors. I'm really sad.
They're not my neighbors.
Okay.
My neighbors are Middleton and Emmett and Eagle. My neighbors aren't Canadian. And by the way, good luck paying for your national defense there, Canada.
Canada has its own military.
Oh, sure they do. They have, 3 prop planes in you?
They're owned by England. Do you think England's got a military?
Not like us.
You know how many Canadians died?
Where would England be without us in the big one?
Canadian men died fighting in Iraq than Americans.
They did.
So stop with it.
No, I'm not going to stop with it. I'm allowed to have an opinion.
Yeah, you are, but I mean, you got to stop protecting the real sinners, Kevin. If you want to continue to protect the real sinners,
right?
Go ahead and do that, but you will be held accountable.
Look, I've been held accountable for everything my whole life. That's why I'm talking to you. Do you think that? Hold on. As I like to say, 20 years ago, I was on the Today Show, CNN, Fox News, and today I'm talking to you. Do you think that I have not been held accountable for my transgressions in life, sir?
Well, not yet, because you're not pushing a grocery cart with all your belongings in it.
Thank you for the call. Kevin Miller, 580-KIDO. KIDO.
Good morning, Kevin. The flock camera thing, it's just, to me, it's the whole thing is kind of silly. You know, it's like we're worried about cameras. Right now, almost every intersection in town has got a camera. I mean, ACHD sits there and watches everybody at every street. You know, it's continual. We watch them. We watch traffic. We watch for accidents. To add another camera is like, who cares? If someone's down the street and they take their picture, who cares? It's not the cameras that are the problem. It's what do you do with the data that makes the problem. You know, I can take your picture. I can fly a drone over your house and do all kinds of things. It's like invasion of privacy. We have no privacy anymore. You know, it's just technology. It makes it so I can see anything I want to see. It's what you do with it that makes the difference. You know, and if it helps catch criminals, so be it. You know, it's like you're on camera every intersection anyway. I don't understand why people are griping about it. You know, unless there's an intent to use it for destruction, then that's a problem. And that's why we have laws. Laws are in place. If anything, they should have cameras on the freeway, slowing people down, fix license plate numbers. The guys are doing 95. You know, we need cameras on every overpass. You know, to sit there, which we have anyway. And it's like to take a picture of a license plates. You know, I mean, I went all the way across the country, and they're sending me, "Hey, we got you. You were on the pike, and you needed to pay your tolls." You know, it's like you drive through, they got you. So what am I griping about? Is that unfair that I didn't pay at some place? No, it's fair. It's the laws that make the difference, and we can't be without laws. You know, these people that they hate cops and stuff. It's like, who are you going to hire that's a perfect cop? There is bad cops. It's what we do with bad cops. It doesn't make every cop bad. We need the law. We need enforcement. It's just the law is what we do with it. So I don't understand the big gripe about cameras. I mean, people are taking pictures of you everywhere you go, and we're not griping. They're sitting there on the internet. These people that gripe are probably sitting on the internet scrolling, and they got every bit of data they need from you. And it's like, and you're worried about a camera at an intersection? I mean, come on. To me, it's just silly. You know, we have them anyway. It's just someone stirring it up. Like I said, if we want to do anything with cameras, we should have them on the freeway, stopping the people doing 95 every day. And then you call the law enforcement, and they're like, we just don't have the money to put men out there, you know, and we don't want to stop traffic. Well, I'll tell you what, the best way to not stop traffic, take pictures of license plates, guys doing 95, 100. Not people are doing 3 miles over speed limit, but people are abusing the law. And so we cannot have no law. If you don't have no law, you're chaos. Everyone does what's right in their own mind. So we need law. It just got to be, you know, if there's a, you know, over again, you know, it's like, it's just, I just don't understand the complaints about it. And maybe I'm wrong. You know, maybe I don't see something that they're trying to weasel in. But if they try to weasel something in, then I'll stand up for that. But thank you for your show, Kevin.
Well, thank you, Concern. I appreciate that. And, you know, Concern has some valid points when we're talking public safety. You know, our highways shouldn't resemble Mad Max, not Thunderdome, but the Road Warrior. But they do. And people continue to be crazy.
Get one to help my community, to help catch the bad guys, and I'm getting ridiculed for it. You guys want to call and cancel it? Go right ahead. I have no problem. But the next time grandma's missing, or your car got stolen, or you're missing money, and I can't help you, sorry. I'm just trying to be the guy. I have given 20 years to this city. My blood, sweat, and tears, missing family events, holidays. I've worked nights, weekends, and everything. And this is what I get for helping? I am not a rule breaker. I'm a law enforcement officer. I take that oath very freaking seriously. And to get slammed like I did tonight, good luck. That's all I'm going to say is good luck. How to do background checks on half the people that make comments.
They probably do. They probably do. Pretty wild stuff when you think about what's going on here in the world we live in today. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Our friend John who writes in. John, thank you for that first sentence. We won't share that with you. He writes in about the Canada thing. Canada is more than just about Canada. Now, Mark Carney is essentially taking orders from the DNC. I didn't know this, but thank you, John, for bringing this up. Since his chief of staff is an ex-Hillary Clinton employee, and then he's got another person in the office that used to work for George Soros, and another person who used to work for Bloomberg. No wonder Carney hates us. So they're telling Mr. Carney not to negotiate with Trump because they want to affect the midterm elections with high prices. By the way, great point, John. And it's funny, apparently the deal was ready to go, and then, depending on who you believe, we added more things, they added more things, all sorts of things, and somebody wanted the deal blown up. I don't think that we wanted the deal to be blown up. I go back to what Mr. Trump has said, President Trump has said, we can't sell dairy there? Huh? Yet we import all their lumber? Let's just, and again, you all have said this. I'm not taking credit for it. Let's just use our lumber. Why not? We got a bunch of wood. Put the wood to good use. Anyway, back to what John is saying. And the Democrats will have a major talking point because prices will go up. People will be unhappy, especially when you think about this, adding to Mark's email or John's email. For some reason, I'm saying Mark. John's email about Maine, Michigan, and no, Illinois isn't up, but Maine and Michigan are. And Ohio, for that matter. Anyway, behind the headlines, we appreciate you. John, thank you for the email. Thank you, everyone. You make the show. Good day. God bless. Keep the faith. And Kevin Miller loves you.
What if one bottle could replace the benefits of 8 steps in your skincare routine? Get glass-like skin and your time back with the resurfacing compound by U Beauty. This transformative serum works to visibly brighten, smooth, and even your skin while helping minimize the look of pores, dark spots, and fine lines, all in one multitasking formula. It's breakthrough science and streamlined simplicity in a single step. For science-proven results without the clutter or confusion, shop the resurfacing compound by U Beauty now at ubeauty.com. That's the letter U, BEAUTY.com. Try U Beauty today.